Hey everyone, welcome to the Fin Factor. I'm Paul.
And I'm Aaron.
And we are here live at SAP Center for the draft party for the 2024 NHL entry draft for the Sharks. For the first time in franchise history, we'll be picking first overall. Consensus, of course, is Macklin Celebrini, but we'll see. It's not 100% lock. It's like a 99.999% lock. But again, we're here. If you're not here, why not? What are you doing? Come on down. It's a great time over here. They've got the shark head. They've got the Marlowe banner. They've got the mechanical shark out there. Everything is awesome. You got to come and check it out if you haven't. You got plenty of time. Make your way down here. Now, obviously, we are joined with a familiar face, Sharks president, actually president of many things we've discussed a little bit here, but sports and entertainment president, Jonathan Becker. Good to have you on the show.
Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Aaron, we've got a few questions for him. I know you wanted to ask him specifically about season tickets because that's kind of one of the main points for him, so fire away.
Sure. You mentioned before that you had the highest retention rate for season tickets, I think, ever. Is that correct?
So we don't have history back 30 years.
Yeah.
So other than the year we went to the Cup, this is the highest one we're aware of in the last 15 years or so.
Was that directly related to the lottery? Like, did it happen? Was there a big jump once the lottery happened? No.
There was a little jump after the lottery happened, but 99% of that renewal happened before that as well.
Oh, was there a jump in new season ticket holders?
Yes, there was a big jump in new. So two things happened when the dice went our way, and one is some people who had not renewed said, never mind, I want to renew afterwards. That was about 3% or so. And then we were fairly slow on news, and we dramatically picked up. In fact, we sold more news in May than we sell most off seasons.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Indeed.
That's exciting. Do you know percentage-wise how much is a season like how a percentage of the arena is sold to season ticket holders?
So I don't know that number off the top of my head, but the way you think about it normally is a middle of the tier team. So if you're, not top 10, not bottom 10, you're somewhere there, you typically renew about 85% of your season ticket members.
Okay.
We're well above that.
Wow.
And then you try to sell 15% more of news to fill in that gap. So we've exceeded both of those marks. We renewed more than 85%, and we sold more than 15%. So that's the way to think about it.
Right. So the Macklin effect is
it's full in there. Or whoever else we drafted number one.
Right.
As Mike Greer likes to joke, well, allegedly we're drafting. Right?
Yeah.
Allegedly. So yeah, like you said, there's a lot of excitement around getting the number one pick. Obviously, we're all thinking Macklin Celebrini, but one of the things actually you had brought up when we came over here was talking about the prospect camp, the scrimmage, those things that are coming up. Fans are going to be able to see all the young talent that's coming into this organization, all the guys that Mike Greer has gone out and grabbed to make this organization kind of revitalized, right? So can you talk to us a little bit about the prospect scrimmage and the camps and the things that are going on that fans might be interested in seeing in the future?
Yeah, so two things. First of all, a couple of years ago, the depth of our prospects pool, let's just admit, it wasn't that great. Depending on whose numbers, we were ranked bottom 10. Now we're universally ranked top 5. That's before picking twice in the first round today. We could have number 1 or number 2 depth of camp. You'll see most of those prospects, not all, but including whoever we pick at number 1. You'll see them next week in San Jose at TechCU. Development camp officially opens on Monday. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday and Thursday are all open to the public. Each day we post hours as to when they're playing on which rink. Nice. So you're welcome to come down. Those are free. On Thursday at around 11, show up early. We're going to do a prospect scrimmage like we've done in previous years. It's not a traditional hockey game. It's a little bit of fun. Showcase all the skills. That's a paid event that's already selling pretty well. And since TechCU is a little bit smaller than it, so if you want to go, this is going to boost. I would encourage you to buy in the next couple of days.
There's still tickets left, but not many.
There are not a ton of tickets left. I think last I looked, like 1,000 left or something like that. So
is it like this, where it's just first come, first serve, open seating?
So you buy a lower bowl or upper bowl seat. Other than that, it's general admission. Yes, exactly right. The other thing you should probably know, in case you haven't paid attention, is the schedule's going to get released next Tuesday on July 2nd.
About that,
and individual games are going to go on sale at the same time.
Cool.
And there are obviously some fun games that are going to be available next year, including maybe a retirement ceremony announced as well. We'll find out that date on Tuesday also. So I'd encourage people to pay attention the next couple of days.
Good. I'm planning on doing some road trip games this season. I want to try and
get
north to Seattle, Vancouver, maybe Salt Lake City.
I was going to say first ever game in Utah should be fun.
Yeah.
The other thing that we'll do, so here's an exclusive for you guys.
Yeah.
Although the season schedule is only going to get dropped on Tuesday, we're going to tease our opening night game on Monday.
Oh, okay.
So look at all our channels on Monday to see where we're going to play. And despite what fans think online, this year it's not going to be Vegas. We're opening against a different team.
Good.
Nice.
Whatever. I still hate Vegas, but whatever.
So, in years past, there have been lots of different upgrades to the arena, and we talked with you on the show a few times over. I think Doug Benson's another one that we had talked to about some of the upgrades. When they had the lighting, the LED lighting above the ice, and it didn't. When it came on, it came on. It didn't slowly come on anymore. The lighting on the seats and everything else. And we're just kind of wondering, is there anything new to the arena that you want the fans to know about for the experience coming to games next season?
There are a bunch of infrastructure changes that are coming, which you won't see, but the most visible thing will be food and beverage.
Okay.
So we're including more self-service to help speed up, because we all know that between periods, sometimes the lines get bad, so we're looking at what are the choke points, and how do we turn that so you can pre-order in the app, schedule when you pick up, and do things like that to help people get back to their seats with whatever their favorite beverage or food is.
Right.
I think that helps. TechCU has that. And
TechCU has quite a bit of that,
It goes really quick, especially even on nights where it's pretty full.
Yeah.
I like it.
So we're going to do a lot more of that. So you should see every off-season we'll do significant investment in the building.
Cool.
Nice. Awesome. So I guess for me, maybe the last thing here would be just kind of tell the fans, give it to them. What is there to be excited about for this coming season? I know Aaron and I last season, we were pumped watching guys like Eklund coming in and kind of growing and seeing the growth of the younger players. Obviously, there's going to be more of that, I think, this coming season. Yeah. But in your mind, pump it to the fans. What can they be excited for this coming season?
So look, everyone knows we've been going through a rebuild. Rebuilds usually come in two phases. The re part, which is the tear down, which is tough emotionally because some of your favorite players go away. Now we're in the build part. You saw the beginning of the future last year with players like Zetterlund and Eklund, etc. You'll see much more of that with Shakir and Henry Thrun and others. So if you're a fan that likes young, fast, competitive hockey, that's what we're going to be next year. Next year's probably not a cup year, but you can see the nucleus of the next core coming, and we'll be a lot more entertaining. Hell, we even have the youngest coach in the league now. So this is a youth moment.
That is true, yeah, absolutely.
I got a question for you. Hassel Plattner is retiring from SAP.
Correct.
Are we going to see him more physically in the building at all? Or
so let me bust a myth. He's here a lot.
Yeah.
I think he got to 12 games last year.
Oh, okay.
So will he be at more next season? Yeah, it's potential than that. He's just not a show me kind of guy.
Right.
So we don't tend to put him on the big board or on TV, stuff like that. But he's a passion in here a lot. He lives primarily in California.
Yeah.
That's where he is most of the time.
Cool.
So
Awesome.
I guess that's a yes.
Right, yeah, okay. Maybe, if you're lucky.
All right, guys, I think we're moments away
Yeah,
from
we're ready.
I think
from
so.
we're picking, allegedly picking
First and 11th.
a hometown kid.
As the
Right.
president, I know you've got lots of places to be. Thank you
Yes.
for joining
No
us
problem.
right now.
Appreciate it.
We're going to take a quick break. We're going to let him go and do the things he needs to do. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Take care, guys.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Thank
See
you.
ya.
All right, thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Thanks for letting me
Jasper. And we're back. Yes?
Yes.
I think we are.
Yeah, we're
Or
here.
no, I'm not getting any points from the super producer. Okay, we are back. And Jonathan Becker has transformed a little bit there. So obviously, good friend of the show, Graham. Graham, why don't you go ahead and plug where you're from and your socials so that they know where to go and check on you, and we'll do it again at the end.
Well, I am the Russian scout for Dobber Prospects this year. I also have my own YouTube channel called Graham Slam. Haven't really updated my channel much this year, but it is still there. You can follow me on Twitter at GrahamSlamYT, and that's about it.
Okay, there you go. So it sounds like in the background, which again, we're not really kind of just going to turn and watch, the same thing from last season, but they are going to show the pick and everything that's going on.
See it right.
So we're
there. It's right there.
so you'll be able to see it in the background, but we're not going to turn and pay all our attention to it. However, again, the consensus number 1 overall, Macklin Celebrini. Obviously,
What? Really?
This is who the Sharks have been touted to pick since day one. Anybody in this position, really, to pick Macklin. So for those fans who only know the name but don't know what he brings, or maybe the comp, maybe another player that they would recognize to say, oh, that's how he's going to play like. Talk a little bit about Macklin, what he's going to end up bringing to the Sharks, and maybe how soon he'll be able to bring that.
Well, Macklin Celebrini ultimately is a franchise-changing player.
Okay.
His number 1 comp that most scouts seem to be putting out there is Sidney Crosby.
Wow.
Granted,
Yeah.
that is a high bar. It is a high bar to be compared to Sidney Crosby, so I think in his prime, scoring-wise, given the direction that scoring has gone in the NHL over the last few seasons, we've really been seeing increase in goal scoring. Like league average save percentage this year was like 903, which is the lowest it's been since like the 90s.
Yeah.
So I think Celebrini is a guy who can top 100, maybe even 110, 120 points in his prime in this scoring environment. Sidney Crosby kind of did that in a tighter scoring environment, so I don't think he's quite the same ceiling as Crosby. But another player I think he's really similar to is Patrice Bergeron.
Okay.
Plays a really, really solid 200-foot game. I do think there's a good chance Celebrini's going to win a Selke or multiple Selkes throughout his career.
Wow.
And he has more offensive upside than Bergeron as well. So this is a player that is going to be very, very good for a very long time.
See, and it's funny because we keep hearing about how he's not Connor Bedard. He's not Connor McDavid. But then you put him in the same conversation as a Patrice Bergeron or a Sidney Crosby, and those to me, at least Crosby, I don't know how you feel about Bergeron, but Crosby to me is a generational talent. So if you're going to make that comparison, maybe he's not at that level with those two, but to say that he's not the generational talent, like, is he though?
I think he's kind of borderline.
Okay.
Borderline generational. The big difference between Celebrini and Bedard is the goal scoring.
Okay.
Bedard is absolutely generational goal scorer. He's probably going to be the best goal scorer in the league.
Similar to Ovechkin, like how Ovechkin was.
Very different style
Yes.
player, different style goal scorer, but yes. Right up there with Ovechkin and Matthews in terms of goal scoring. Celebrini, he's probably going to be putting up, 30 to 40 goal seasons, which is no slouch whatsoever.
Yeah.
But definitely more of a playmaker than Bedard.
That's right, two-way forward. Now, going back real quick, the Selke Trophy, for those who don't know, is the best defensive forward in the NHL, as voted on by the NHL.
Is it by the players?
I don't think the players. I think
The
it's
Hockey Writers Association,
media?
I believe, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just going back real quick, but yes, a very good defensive forward. Now, Patrick Marleau almost won a Selke. I think he was a finalist a couple years when in his prime, way back in the day. But that's fantastic to have Celebrini coming in here, and he's definitely going to be the 1C for the Sharks for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
If you want to compare Celebrini to Sharks players of the past, I think he's probably going to be the best player the team has ever drafted.
Wow.
To this point, at least. Definitely better than Marleau, I would say.
Yeah.
Kind of on level with Thornton. Obviously, the Sharks didn't draft Thornton.
Yeah.
But more or less that level talent-wise.
Well, they definitely had Thornton in his prime, so it wasn't. They didn't draft him, but they got him at a very early age, especially for a draft pick or a trade. But yeah. So real quick before we get going, let's talk about this week or the last 2 weeks or so since we did the show. There was a lot of moves that the Sharks did. Let's see, where do we even start? One of them being Barclay Goodrow getting claimed by waivers. Now this is kind of seen as a little shady between the Sharks and the New York Rangers, mainly because Greer used to work in the organization with the Rangers. The Sharks were in last place, so they had the first waiver claim over anybody else. Barclay Goodrow had no team trade list. I can't remember if it was 10 or 15, but safe to say the Sharks were not on that list because they're not a contender. And so the way they went around it is they put him on waivers, assuming somebody would take him. Now, a lot of teams are up against the cap. They're not going to take a $3 million salary for a fourth liner. So the Sharks kind of did a solid here in picking him up off of waivers. Now, is this going to be something that the NHLPA could look at over the summer? Not this specific thing, but for the future cases, maybe stop this kind of thing from happening?
I don't know. It's such an unusual situation because Goodrow, that contract he got was such a weird contract. 6 years, $3.5 million for that kind of player.
Yep.
That's a super rare situation. We don't really see things like this. Although I do actually potentially have a little bit of information about this trade. I have heard from somebody who has connections within the Rangers organization that the Sharks and the Rangers may be making another trade.
Yeah.
Basically, they added the sweetener that we would have gotten if we had just traded for Goodrow. A 2019 second round pick, Matthew Robertson, defenseman, 6'4". Not a ton of upside, but he's another defenseman to add to the pool. And then probably a pick swap in like the 4th or 5th round maybe, so keep an eye out for that tomorrow.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
So, yeah, we could be looking at another trade coming in tomorrow, you're saying?
Potentially. I mean, it could happen today, but
Okay.
from what I've heard, it's a 4th or 5th round pick swap, so that could very well happen tomorrow.
And I just don't think that you can set that precedent that, you know, when you claim you can't put a guy on waivers because another team that's on his no trade might pick him up. Like, well, hey, man, outplay your contract, buddy. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It's a bad precedent to set.
It could be more of future contracts. They're going to put that into contracts that you can't be put on waivers and claimed or something. If you're on the no-trade trade list. Maybe that.
And just so we get an update, it looks like things are progressing behind us from what I can tell. I don't know if they're just making announcements. Looks like Gary Bettman's just talking and getting booed. I felt bad because as soon as Gary started talking and they were booing, but he was talking too, so it looked really bad for the stream. If they're not booing him, guys, it's Gary. But so he's doing his thing right now, and of course the Sharks will be the next one up. Do you guys think that they're going to pull any Patrick Marleau magic like they did last season when they did the Will Smith pick? They had him up there and had him call out.
I think Joe Thornton's going to go up there
Jumbo?
and call it because he was the first overall pick. That's my guess.
What do you think?
Could happen. He's at the draft, so we'll just have to see.
Jumbo's not here. Like here.
Fair,
So
yeah.
I have a feeling he's there, and he's going to be doing the pick. Shirtless, too.
It's not that one.
So, again, lots happening behind us. It's hard to know.
It's a good crowd here.
It's hard to even hear myself talking, let alone either of these two jokers. So, you can hear the crowd. You can see Mike in the background when we go to the wide shot here. The crowd's going nuts. Let's go Sharks. How many people did he say showed up for this event?
He couldn't pull up the numbers, but they sold 17,000 people claimed tickets.
Sharkies going nuts on the drum right now. Again, a historic moment in Sharks franchise history, picking the first overall.
To put this into perspective, the largest crowd ever for an NHL Draft Party was Chicago last year when they drafted Bedard, and that was only 5,000 people. I think this beat 5,000 people. This is
for one location.
This is closer to 10,000.
This is a lot of people. Yeah. So again, if you didn't show up, you should have. Definitely could have came by and said hi to us. Debbie's in the booth actually right now. She's waving to us. We're just gonna wave to the camera. Hi, Debbie. 200. What's this? 200 live watching. Well, hey guys, thank you so much for joining us for this historic moment. Again, you hear the crowd in the background. Let's go Sharks. So again, if you guys can share this out to everybody else and your Sharks friends and family so they get a chance to witness this moment as well. We appreciate you guys being with us, not just in this stream, but also last season. All the season the Sharks have been terrible. I can't wait for you guys to be back in the show this season when the Sharks are almost as terrible, but way more entertaining to watch. Right?
It's a great time to become a fan.
It's a
if you're
great
not a
time.
fan, jump back on the bandwagon because the Sharks' new core is forming and they're going to be very, very good in the years to come.
Absolutely. And maybe we'll do a quick roll call. If you let us know where you're watching from, since we have so many people here, tell us where you're watching from, which city, and who do you think the Sharks will select with the first overall?
Sure.
Yeah, why not? Of course. Just Macklin all the way down the list, right? Okay. I don't know, what other topic can we possibly start talking about? I mean, this is going to happen any moment.
Well, we didn't talk about the trade that they made to get from 14th to 11th.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So they had the 14th overall
up.
pick from Pittsburgh. Now, this is like kind of another great form of asset management by Mike Greer. He gets, Walman from...
Yes, Jake Walman.
Oh my God, I'm blanking on the name.
Red Wings.
Was it? Red Wings.
Detroit.
Detroit. He gets him plus a second-round pick sent his way for future considerations, which is the proverbial bag of pucks.
Yes.
So a bag of pucks for a second-round pick and a defenseman who now becomes probably one of the best defensemen on the team going into next season.
Yeah.
And takes that pick and trades that along with the 14th overall pick and something else, or just those two picks? Just those two picks.
Yeah.
Immediately jumps from 14th to 11th.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if he's going to stay at 11th or if it's just easier to move from 11th to the top 10 with another one of those second-round picks, because they have 2 more second-round picks.
Yep. Yeah. That is the exact vibe that I get.
Yeah.
I am anticipating he is going to try to move up again. We'll see what happens. A couple of teams in the top 10 have indicated that they're willing to move on from that pick. So we'll just have to see what happens. If they really want one of those top defensemen, people are saying that there's 6, top 6 defensemen in the draft. For me, it's really top 5.
Okay.
Anton Salayev is in there, but his offensive upside is a lot lower than the other guys for me. So really, it's a top 5 defenseman for me.
They're about to make the pick right now. So
Mike, just give a shout out.
They're saying, they're giving a shout out to SAP Center. They're giving a shout out to SAP Center and all the fans that are here. So maybe you just should I just pipe it down a little bit, maybe, and just let him hear it.
Do we have a stack of cash for Macklin? Just throw it around.
Oh,
there you go.
Aaron nailed it.
Does he have a shirt on?
What shirt?
Does he have
a shirt? Jumbo! Joe Thornton!
Jumbo coming in with a pick. He's a man of few words,
Coming
so I
out.
know what he's going to say.
Oh, he's just going to say the name. Drop the mic. All right, here he comes.
First overall selection in the 2024 NHL Draft, the San Jose Sharks are very proud to select from Boston University.
That's a cool streamers in the background.
Awesome.
What a great party. What a great party.
I mean,
is this better than any game last season?
and it's like, we all knew that was going to be the pick. We all knew that we had already won the lottery.
Oh, we have confetti in here.
But yeah, Super Producer Jason's got it. But there's something about them getting to the stage first, them making the call. Again, it's just a historic moment, and I'm just glad that we could share it with all 200 of you guys.
Does it
Graham?
make last season worth the struggle and pain of going through
Yes.
to get to this point?
For me, yes.
How sad would it have been if we were the second overall pick and you watched Chicago take Macklin Celebrini? That would have been brutal.
Yeah, that's true. So, again, I don't know. This is one of those moments for me,
Are you all right?
I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling
need
good.
some tissues?
But it's just one of those moments,
It's exciting. It's
there
historic.
he goes. He's in the back
the very
there.
first time ever the Sharks have picked first overall.
Throwing his jersey on. Oh, it's got number 71. Usually it's got the year. That's interesting.
That means they stitched it well beforehand.
They put, They put 24 on the screen, but he's wearing 71. That's
so
interesting.
Safe to say he's going to be 71 for the Sharks?
Yep, absolutely.
Do we know the number significance of that? Why is he 271?
Do you know why he's 71?
I believe that is his current number, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Yeah.
No ties to it? Like, does he have? Says dad's.
I don't know about that.
Nicholas Egan said the same thing. They gave him 71. Yeah, Peter
there
St.
you
John,
go.
huge. Again, it's just one of those moments in Sharks history that if you know where you were and you're going to remember it, when this guy gets to the end of his career, you're going to remember. This is our first overall pick. So this is a historic moment. I'm loving this. I'm loving the guys in the chat. Thank you guys again for being here and being a part of this. Just awesome stuff. What else can you say?
It's a great party. I bet it's going to get going again because now they got a long ways to go before they take another pick. Maybe.
Okay,
allegedly.
so
We'll see. We'll see if they make a trade.
Chicago's going to make their pick, and everybody else up until the 11th pick or until the Sharks trade up again to get, I don't know, Zeke Bouillon. How do you feel about that? If the Sharks were to try to move up just a little bit more, or do you think they can get Bouillon at 11?
I don't think Bouillon's going to be there at 11.
I don't think so, yeah.
He's my top-rated defenseman in the class.
Really?
I have him at 3. So maybe he'll fall. I think maybe 6, 7, maybe 8.
Yeah.
I believe Seattle is at 8. So if they can get that pick and he's still there, that would be a good trade partner, I think, for the Sharks. The other defenseman, I expect Levshunov to be the first one drafted. Chicago's on the clock right now. They very well may take him here.
Yeah.
The consensus second overall pick is more or less Ivan Demidov, who's a forward, but he's Russian, and there's, the Russian factor.
Yeah.
And the Blackhawks seem like they want a defenseman, which does make sense given the way their prospect pool is set up right now. And they already got Bedard, and they've got a number of other really high-end forwards. So I don't think a defenseman's going to go here. But starting at 3 or 4, I think we're going to start seeing all of these defensemen go. So if you really want one of those top 5 guys, Carter Yakimchuk is the guy that I expect to be available at 11.
Yeah.
But he's definitely the worst one of the 5 for me. So that's where we're at.
Okay. So you think that, wait a minute, $5, ring that bell. Hey guys, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate you. Super producer Jason could have a bullhorn right now, and we would not hear a thing. If you can hear us talking over that, then these mics are fantastic, and well done, super producer Jason, because I can't hear a thing. But again, Ryan Sontag with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Maybe when we get back on studio, we'll have super producer Jason hit the bell a few times in your honor there, Ryan. Again, appreciate your support. Appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you guys being here for the past few seasons, supporting the show, and it's great to celebrate this moment with you guys right here. I think he wore 17 in high school. Yes, that is true, but I think he also wore 71 in college.
Maybe somebody else had 17.
Maybe,
in college.
I don't think Dylan Larkin was his favorite player or anything like that, right?
Not that I'm aware of, no. He grew up a Canucks fan, so...
With who?
Canucks. He was a Canucks fan.
Yes, Canucks. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so should we continue on with some of the Sharks' moves, the things that Grit has done in the past week or so? Yeah. Okay.
Kyle Burroughs is another one who got traded a couple of days ago to the Los Angeles Kings, which is kind of weird because it's an interdivisional rivalry. You don't usually see a lot of trades, but this is a depth defenseman for a depth forward, and it's a guy who skates really hard. Oh, sorry, it was Grundstrom, Carl Grundstrom. He's basically a fourth-line grinder that's going to work his tail off on every shift and be a penalty killer and work hard and probably help the youngsters get their work ethic going and stick up for them if they need to. Just a hard-nosed kind of lunch pail guy. Nothing, no scoring, no top 6. This guy's just a depth forward, fourth liner.
Is that an accurate representation of Grundstrom, by the way? A solid PKer, a depth player, a guy that's got a good defensive game.
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of offense there for a fourth liner. He's a guy who can score maybe 12, 15 goals on a fourth line. That's not bad for fourth liners. So better than that, yeah, that's about right.
Okay. Another move that they had, I think it was the first move that he did actually, was getting Ty Dellandrea from Dallas.
Right.
And he traded, a fourth? In 2025 or something, though.
Yeah, 25 fourth round.
2025 Sharks fourth rounder was traded for Ty Dellandrea from Dallas. Now, you're going to hear this a couple times now. Again, it was a defensive type player, good on the PK, right? And by all accounts, it seems like he's the type of guy that was helping out Joe Pavelski before practice. When Pavelski's out there taking tips, he's the guy firing pucks at him. He was the guy in the locker room helping, the goaltenders with whatever it is that they're doing. He's that guy. He's a great teammate.
Yeah, very good locker room presence. The Dallas Stars were kind of sad to see him go. Some of the fans, but a lot of the people in the locker room had nothing but good things to say. Yeah. Was he Jake Ottinger's roommate? Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and he says he's really going to miss him a lot. So good for the Sharks is bringing in some good character guys that's going to help with the locker room and keep things moving and growing with the new prospects. Do you have anything else to add to him?
Yeah, I think Sharks fans are going to be really, really happy with Ty Dellandrea. He's such a likable guy and a really great player, too. Former, I believe, 14th overall pick, so he hasn't quite met expectations. But the Dallas Stars are just so deep out forward he was a healthy scratch in the playoffs for like roughly half their games this year.
Wow.
And he was like, there's no reason for him to be a healthy scratch. He's absolutely should be. He's like the best healthy scratch in the league.
Yeah.
And on the Sharks, he'll probably be playing like third line minutes, I expect. And there's a little bit, potentially a little bit of offense still there. He had a really good rookie season with the Stars 2 years ago. This past year kind of took a little bit of a step back, but I think on the Sharks he's going to get more opportunity. So I think he's going to be a really popular player and potentially one that can grow with the team as well.
So he'll probably be third line center, and then Sturm will be fourth line center? Is that what you're thinking?
Ideally, potentially, yeah.
So I want everybody to hear that.
Kinda.
What did he just say? Sturm will be, it doesn't matter where. Sturm's on the team. He's going to outplay.
Yeah, he's got one more year.
He's going to get signed. He's not going to get traded is my point. He'll be a Shark. I'm feeling it. I like Sturm. I don't care what either of you guys have to say about it, even if you like him. I like him. I want him on this team.
It's not that I don't like him.
He's got the attitude that I want. He's got the skill that I want, although we are bringing in quite a few guys. Much like Nico Sturm, who's fairly responsible defensively and a good character guy, a good locker room guy.
So a younger Sturm.
Sure, whatever. We need more of these guys apparently because, again, we picked up Goodrow as well. So we've got a lot of these guys who can play this penalty killer, grinder type of role on this team now. And Grundstrom, Delandria, and Goodrow. All three pickups within the last, week and a half or so? Right? So he's really loading up on this type of player. And I know that, Aaron, you've talked about this before, that this is Greer's guys. This is the mold that Greer's going for. And I'm kind of wondering, and I'd like your opinion, how much is too much of this type of player? I understand the value of them, but to have a whole team that's pretty much full of guys like this, is it too much?
I think the big thing that Greer is really looking for is guys that are hard workers.
Yes.
So if you look at the drafting as well, I mean, Celebrini was going to go to us this year regardless. But he is a really, really hard worker too. Look at a guy like Quentin Musty they drafted last year, really hard worker. So that's the kind of player he's looking for, and at that point, some of these guys are going to be more skilled than others, like Celebrini, like Musty. So those guys go slot in the top six, still really hard workers. The bottom six is going to be full of hard workers as well. I think that's really just the identity that he wants to build.
Yeah.
So bring whoever you want to bring in if they're hard workers.
Well, what kind of player was Greer when he played? A hard-working player.
That's before my time. So.
Well, yeah.
Funny how that works. Greer goes after those types of guys, those blue-collar, hard-working, grinder.
And who did Doug Wilson go
Exactly what I was going to say. Doug Wilson went after the offensive defenseman, right? Speaking of offensive defensemen, here comes one right here. Mr. Scott
What's up, boys? How we doing?
We're going to get to you in just a moment. We're actually live right now.
Pretty big.
Now that he's here again, when they show up, we don't know when they're going to leave, so we're going to take a quick break, swap him out, and then we'll go right back to it. Anything else to add before we go? No. Okay, stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back live, SAP Center, 2024 NHL Entry Draft Party here at SAP Center. We just picked Mac and Celebrini, and then we were talking about offensive defensemen and who walks in. But one of the best offensive defensemen to ever grace Teal. I'm only sort of being facetious.
I mean, maybe back in Bantam or Pee Wee hockey way back. I am the Junior Sharks director now, so if we talk about it in that aspect, I was very offensive.
Yeah, fantastic. So Scott, obviously friend of the show. He's we did the Kathy's Power Skating episode. If you haven't seen that, by the way, you need to check that one out. Really funny stuff. We got chirped a little bit. But I think we held our own. We did okay, didn't we?
You guys did all right. You guys
all
did
right.
all right.
I think I've worn my skates once since that show.
One time.
One time.
All roads lead to beer league, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. Okay.
Even mine.
Fantastic. So I want you to kind of give the folks that are watching a sense of what's happening in the arena. I know for us it's crazy loud. For these guys, maybe they're hearing the mics a lot better and they can't hear everything going on. But can you just tell them about the energy and when they call Macklin's name, the sense in the building? Can you just talk a little bit about that?
You know, I think the biggest thing is it's a buzz.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's something that maybe hasn't been around the rink the last few years. And I mean, it's hard. You go through so many good years. You have so many strong playoff teams. There's automatically a little bit of a downturn, but I think they're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I think Mike Greer's done some great things. Yeah. You know, moving up from the 14th to 11th, it doesn't seem far, but you know what I mean? That could be big, and we're looking at that. I know they probably got their eye on somebody. Do you know what I mean? That they didn't think maybe was going to be around, so that's exciting. But obviously to get that number 1 overall pick, I think you saw that when they actually won the lottery to now adding a dynamic player like that to add to the already growing list of prospects in the system. You know, going from what was it, 27th overall in prospect to now it was number 4. Do you know what I mean? So you got a situation where there's some excitement, there's some buzz. You can feel in the crowd right now here. I'm excited. I know Gage is here somewhere, my son, hiding around in the background.
He's shaking his head. Don't put me on that.
But you know what I mean? The buzz just around the Junior Sharks rink. Did they see the kids?
Yeah.
You know, to see this year, you see Devin Cooley, who went from a kid in the program all the way up through 18s to get his first shot. Yeah. That's exciting as a youth in the Northern California area to sit there and to see that pathway, to see that goal. And even though Macklin only played a short time at the Junior Sharks, it's that connection to the Bay Area. I think that it provides a lot. And I'm excited about the future, not only of youth hockey in Northern California, but the Sharks as well.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. How about when you were a player, you got drafted in the first round, you were sitting in that arena waiting. What was that like?
Nerves.
Yeah.
I think when I was I was later in the picks, it was 23rd. I didn't really know where I was going to go. There was a lot of rumors. It was early in the second, maybe in the first. And I remember when San Jose actually had, and they moved up to get the spot out of the second. I turned to my mom. I had my hand in the popcorn. I'm like, well, it's not going to be them, because I thought I bombed my interview with them.
Yeah.
And then so when they chose my name, I think I had a handful of popcorn in my mouth. Timmy Burke was like laughing the whole time, and I'm going, I don't know what's going on here. And obviously great things after that. You know, being able to enter here with a youth group, to be able to do so well and see that turning point for a Sharks and being a part of that. Yeah. You know, I love my time here. Obviously, I still hang my hat here, so I'm excited for the future of the Sharks as well.
Yeah, you had 2 go-arounds with the Sharks, so you came back. That's awesome. I guess 3, because you work here now for them.
Exactly. I never really left after that, but coming back, getting that call from Doug Wilson when I was in Nashville, again, a little bit of a surprise. I was on the injured reserve to come back and then, have a little playoff run there, played well, and then able to sign a couple years. And then my kids growing up here, my wife's from here, the ties to the Bay Area, I love it in so many ways. Yeah. The things around just, I love the way that they're going with the alumni. You got Patty, we got Jumbo. You come down to the Junior Sharks rink, we got coaches, Cheech is down there, Jumbo, Patty, me, Mark Smith. I think it's just an energetic time, like I keep saying, for the big guys, but also for the community as far as hockey in general.
You got to get Boiler out there.
I know, we got to get him dangling a couple times. There's an offensive defense.
There you go, yeah. I remember, because last time when we did this, we had him on the show, and I was talking to him. I say, I don't get starstruck often, but he was like the very first offensive defenseman for the Sharks for me, other than Doug Wilson, right? Yeah. For me, he was like the true first offensive defenseman, and I just loved everything about his game. And you talked a little bit about mentoring, and you're talking about mentoring like the 12Us and the 10Us, the kids that are in Sharks Ice right now, right? Or I guess Solar for America is where they're playing or practicing out of. So is there any thought on maybe mentoring at this level with the guys coming into or coming out of the draft and into these other organizations, obviously for this being the Sharks? Do you think at all about mentoring those guys?
I think it's a natural progression. I think, the Sharks, now that more alumni are sticking around the Bay Area, I say guys like Jumbo and Patty, and they're in there. We're in there in the summer. We're working out. There's an open door sort of policy. And to see that energy, to see a guy like Patty Marleau getting dressed, the young guys get to see that connection to the past. You got Mike Ricci, you got guys involved in the program. And I think that that's important.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we're coming to the games. You got guys hanging around, and they're open to that prospect. We talk to the young guys. They're going to have their prospect camp next week.
Yeah.
I was on the ice with the group last year. You're going to see Jumbo, you're going to see Patty, and they're going to have that connection. I think that's really important to see that connection across years, across teams. You can offer some advice, just open. And I think that that's important. You see that at a lot of other organizations, and I think the Sharks, now that they're getting to that age where guys are starting to stick around, you talk about Dan Boyle to be able to get on the ice, maybe throw the hands. He was out at a beer league game the other day. He's still got it. He's still got it. We got a little skate with the alumni, which I think is special. It's just a great feeling to have around here.
Are you going to be around for the prospect game next week?
Oh, yeah. I'll be around.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I think I'll be going to bring Gage down there too. A couple of the kids.
Yeah.
Again, I think, like you said, Tech CU. It's a great arena.
It is.
Do you know what I mean? The Barracuda. It's an exciting time. We had the alumni game there last year, which was something special. We got another jersey going into the rafters this year, which I think is going to be pretty special. We're getting the #1 overall pick. We talk about the buzz. It's exciting times.
So they're going to put your number up or what?
I don't know about that. Hey, I'm happy exactly what I'm doing. I'm proud to be a part of an organization like this. From the day that they drafted me, the years I had to come back, and like I said, that open door policy, as far as you're coming in as alumni, they make you still feel part of the family. That's the important thing for us alumni. We know the two guys that got their jerseys in the rafters so far. Those are special players. We hope maybe Macklin at the end of the day can, sit there. He's a special player.
What'd you think about them already giving him 71 on the jersey? Usually it's the year that you're drafted. They already had 71 on the back.
It's pretty. Let's be honest.
If you know, you know.
From the moment they got that ball drop, they knew what was going on. They tried to hold it back, but the smiles on their faces, and a player that special, I think there was obviously no doubt who was getting picked. And like I said, the rest of the draft is going to be pretty interesting here.
Are you going to be working the radio and TV again this year? Are you taking them?
I'm going to see if I have enough time to do it all. The Junior Sharks being down there and running that program. I coach 2 teams down there.
Because you're the director of that program.
I'm the director of the program now, and to get sort of that up and running at the where we want it to be as far as producing some top end talent, and then coaching 2 hockey teams and the travel. You guys know about all that.
I know all about that.
Right?
So for those of you who don't know, one of my sons played against, I think it was Owen is your other son. Yeah, so they played against each other. It was Cougars and Sharks. Now my son's with Tri-Valley, actually, so we'll be seeing you guys, I'm sure, in 12 AA or whatever it is.
Wherever it ends up lining up. I mean, and it's great. It's to see that partnership.
Yes.
Gage, my son skated at GSC and at Cupertino for a while, too. They got a great group of coaches, Chris Hathaway and a number of guys there, Kevin Nathan, DeBryan. That connection to have hockey as a connected throughout the South Bay. I think that's an important part of it as well.
One of our viewers, Peter St. John, just said he's thrilled to have you here, by the way. So pat yourself on the back. There it is right there. I'm thrilled to have you here now, man. So there you are. I think maybe the last thing, I don't know if you guys anything else, but guys have talked about their welcome to the NHL moment, and kind of in the spirit of guys like Macklin, who's going to be coming in, presumably playing straight out of the draft, making the team, probably getting his first NHL moment on game 1, right? Do you have a welcome to the NHL moment that maybe you could share?
I think there's always moments, right? Okay. You get into camp, your first camp, and it's like you're at rookie camp and you feel pretty confident. Then you go to main camp back in the day and you get to play with the vets, and it's a whole different story. And then it's like when you play your first exhibition game, same thing. And then when you play your first regular season, and then you play your first playoff.
Oh, yeah.
And so I had all eye-opening moments, but I think if I go back to one, there was 2. the Legion of Doom in Philly, Eric Lindros and Leclerc and Renberg.
Yeah.
And then I think the other one was Mario Lemieux. You know, I never got a chance to play against Gretzky, but Mario Lemieux and Yager, when you play there in the old Pittsburgh barn, and I think I took an elbow from Mario at one point. You forget how huge of a person he is.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I was out there against Mario Lemieux in my first year, but I was, and I got a swift elbow, kind of a welcome to the moment. And, you know, those first playoff games were obviously amazing. I was lucky enough to get to play in a lot of playoff games. So, you know, a lot of different moments. So those ones I kind of hang my hat on.
Fantastic. That's pretty cool. Anything else?
Man, I can't think of anything right now.
No, you're good?
I'll
Okay.
think of it after you leave.
Of course.
Say,
Yeah, that's how
I'm always around, boys. You know that.
Again, guys, thank you again for tuning in to watch Scott Hannon, our guest. Hope you appreciated everything he had to say. Scott, again, thank you so much for being here. Big fan of yours, and glad to have you on the show anytime. So maybe we'll call you up and go back to Kathy's and do a different, just some other drill or something. Just get host.
Throw the hockey bar, the goalie pads on you.
Oh yeah, no, that's him. He's got to do that. Yeah.
Maybe.
Hey, put in the chat if you want Aaron to take some shots from Old Scott here, huh?
yeah,
There you go.
If I stopped one, I'd be happy.
So I don't even know what pick they're on, but we will be back after this short break. We'll get Grant back out here to talk a little bit more about some of the upcoming prospects, perhaps. Yeah. But again, you've just watched an interview with Scott Hannon. So again, thanks again. We will see you guys in just a few minutes. And we are back. We got Graham back in the seat. Now, Graham, a few picks have happened since the big moment for Sharks fans. Did you want to kind of go through the guys that did get picked, and then therefore who might be left for the Sharks coming up towards 11?
Yeah. Okay. So second overall, Artyom Levshunov to Chicago, as I suspected. Then Anaheim comes in and they take Beckett Seneca third overall. That is a huge surprise to me. They were a big surprise last year as well, drafting Leo Carlson instead of Adam Fantilli. But those guys were ranked 2 and 3. Beckett Seneca, the highest he was ranked by anybody publicly, elite prospects, they had him at 9. Wow. I have him at 17.
Wow.
So there's a lot of upside with Seneca, so I kind of get it from that perspective, but there's definitely better players on the board. That's a big surprise.
They could have traded that pick down to get some more assets.
They definitely could have traded down. They probably could have traded down. I mean, there was a really wide range for Seneca. He was projected to go anywhere from like 6 or 7 to like early 20s.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say exactly how far down they could have traded, but they definitely could have traded down for that. Columbus took Caden Lindstrom at 4, which is pretty much what we were expecting based off publicly available information. That seemed to be the direction they were leaning in. And now we got Montreal up on the board right now. So I'm expecting them to take Ivan Demidov here.
Oh, okay.
But we'll just have to see what happens.
For Montreal Canadiens, you're saying they're going to pick Demidov right now?
That's the rumor.
Okay.
They can be a bit of unpredictable.
Yeah.
Ivan Demidov, there you go. Yeah.
So do you think he slipped a little bit simply because of the Russian factor?
That's my best guess. Okay. He's definitely the second best prospect in this draft. And actually, Demidov probably has a higher ceiling than Celebrini. I don't know that it's likely that he actually hits that, but this guy has hands that you haven't seen before, probably. I mean, you've seen him. Think of the best player in the league in terms of puck handling. Demidov's right up there.
And that's pretty much a steal then for coming 5th.
That is a huge steal for Montreal at 5. Yep.
And he's there, right? He's actually there at the draft. It's not like he's there, in Russia playing.
Yeah. And the thing that I've heard about Demidov is that he's a really good guy, good character. So that Russian factor, I don't know, seems, I don't know.
Usually the Russian factor isn't so much about attitude, but more about just the fact that it's hard for them to break out of Russia and come over with political climate and everything else, right?
That's part of it for sure, but if you look at Matvei Michkov last year, fell to Philadelphia at 7?
Yeah.
I think? Yeah.
And he's coming over next year. His contract terminated early.
It's only 1 year.
So you really look at the recent history, there's not a lot of Russian players drafted that high that are not coming over. There's none. If anything, it's like American guys going to college, going to NCAA. Because if you go to NCAA, you play your 4 or 5 years, the NHL team that drafted you loses their rights. So we saw Adam Fox, for example, drafted in the 3rd round. He should have been a first-round draft pick, but everybody knew he was only wanted to play for the Rangers. So he fell. He was traded twice before he actually made it to the Rangers. So really, this Russian thing, I think it's a lazy excuse for NHL GMs to pick somebody else, really, honestly.
Sorry, Debbie's starstruck because she just got her picture taken with Cunningham.
Looking back at last year's draft, Michkov going 7th, Will Smith going in 4th. Do you still like the Sharks taking Will Smith over, not that you liked it, do you like it a little better now, I guess, that they took Will Smith? I
still like Michkov more as a prospect. Smith is still the more well-rounded player, but Michkov is just a game-breaking talent, offensively speaking.
He's a winger, right?
He's a winger. Yeah.
And Smith will be, I'm assuming eventually, Celebrini will be line 1 center, Smith will be line 2 center. Kind of the 1-2 punch of Thornton and Marlowe again, in a way.
Probably, yes.
So would that be better than having, I don't know, I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
I don't know. I don't know. I'd still probably rather have Celebrini with Michkov on his swing. Michkov with Celebrini would probably score 70 goals. I mean, not saying that he can't do that by himself on Philly, but those two would have been something really, really, really special.
So let's see. Was there any other like moves that we wanted to talk about, or did we catch them all with what Greer did?
There was one more, and that was Ozzy Weisblatt getting traded. This one's interesting because Ozzy was playing for the Barracuda, and they loaned him to the Admirals, which is the affiliate of the Nashville Predators. So they got a good look at him firsthand, and he played for maybe the last third of the season plus playoffs, and he played. I think he was their best playoff performer on the Admirals. So they really liked him. They liked him in the locker room. So they had a really good kind of test run with him.
Yeah.
And then they switched basically. It sounds like a situation where they both needed a change of scenery. Ozzy and what's his name?
Afanasyev.
Yeah, there you go. Afanasyev. How you say it?
Egor Afanasyev.
Afanasyev.
Ayev.
Afanasyev. Afanasyev.
Yes.
I'm gonna butcher
As
that.
far as I'm
His
aware.
name is Egor.
Yes, Egor.
What can you tell us about Egor?
Definitely a win for the Sharks, I think. Much higher ceiling than Weisblatt at this point. I think better likelihood of becoming a regular NHL player as well. It sounds like he more or less gave the Predators an ultimatum. I'm either getting NHL minutes next season or I'm going to the KHL. So that's what facilitated this trade. But at this point, I expect him to probably make the team out of camp. I don't know exactly what role he'll be in. He's the kind of player that I could see working out in a bottom six role or potentially a top six role as well, because I think he still has that upside. He was basically a point per game in the AHL last year, which is a really good indicator. At this point, the AHL is pretty much the best indicator league of NHL success. I think the AHL is probably the second best league in the world right now, passing the KHL, the Russian league. So yeah, I think it's a big win for the Sharks. Granted, Mike Greer has made a couple moves similar to this in the past, where I was expecting the player kind of in a similar position to make the team just because like they're going to go back to Europe. Leon Gavanka, the defenseman that people have probably forgotten about by now, but we got him from Winnipeg. He was already 25, 26, but he scored like 20, 25 goals in the AHL as a defenseman. I don't believe he ever played any games for the Sharks. He stayed on the Barracuda, and then after like half a season, went back to Europe. So that could happen again here, but I really think Afanasyev has a lot of NHL upside, so I would expect him to be with the Sharks. And on the other hand, Weisblatt, as much as I hate to say it, I don't think he's going to be an NHL player at this point.
Yeah, it seemed like Ozzy was just kind of floundering around, and we were hoping to see a little bit more out of him. We were excited about the pick when he first got selected, but he just kind of... What's that?
I was not excited about
Not
it.
at all.
There was not a lot of excitement around that pick. It seemed like it was kind of a reach for a first rounder. Late first rounder.
The player I wanted there was JJ Peterka, who's on the Sabres now, and he had like 30 goals this season, I think.
Yep.
So they should all be listening to you. They're not listening to you. What's going on?
That was the old regime. That was the last year.
I'm free if they want to hire me. But,
Fantastic. All right, let's see. What else did we want to say here? Because they've got, what are we on, pick number 6?
7. 6.
Utah.
6 right now, Utah. So they're selecting... Oh, no.
Of course they're going to.
drama.
That was one of the ones that we were kind of hoping would fall a little bit in the draft, and maybe the Sharks might have a chance to take a stab at him, but goes at number 6 to Utah. So tell us about Tej.
Probably the biggest late riser in the draft. Just a couple months ago, this is a guy who's probably expected to go around 15 to 20.
Yeah.
But just right at the end here, everybody's suddenly really high on him. He's probably the second best goal scorer in the draft behind Cole Yzerman. Really, really good shot. He scored like 50 goals this year. Really expected him to fall to Calgary at 9. But so this probably honestly is going to change Calgary's plans. I'm assuming they were expecting to draft him. So we're just going to have to see what happens. But yeah, at 6, I don't hate the pick for Utah. I think there's a ton of upside there. As a goal scorer, he could easily become the best goal scorer of this draft class.
I wish they cut to Calgary right now because I'm sure they're booing.
Yeah, it is what it is. I was going to ask about the guys that had already been picked. Do you know that all the prospects that have already been picked then?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so can you just say who's off the board? Celebrini, Levshunov, Demidov, Iginla.
Seneca, which went third, and then Caden Lindstrom fourth to Columbus.
So those are the 6. Okay, so of the guys left, are there any surprises that someone's still around at pick number 7 that you thought was going to go earlier? And of those, who do you think realistically either the Sharks would like to target or will actually end up falling to them?
I'm a little surprised that we haven't seen a run on defensemen yet. We saw Levshunov go 2nd overall to Chicago, and we haven't had a defenseman go since then. So Zeev Boyum is still available. Dickinson, Perek, all these guys are still available. So we'll have to see what happens here. Ottawa's on the clock with 7. I don't believe they're one of the teams that's been linked to defensemen. They have pretty strong defense core as it is, so we'll just have to see what happens with their pick. But those guys are all guys that Greer would probably want to target. So at this point, he's probably licking his chops, looking to move up, because these defensemen are still available. Or we could get the best of both worlds and they keep falling, and then then at 11 we get a pick between a couple of these guys. So it's going to be exciting next 30 minutes to an hour. We'll see how long it takes to get through the next 4 picks.
Yeah, and I know last year when we had you on the show, you had talked about it's always better to trade down and get multiples as opposed to trading up and losing, that later round pick. So you're saying even now it looks good for Mike Greer to have moved even just 3 spots from 14 to 11, given who's off the board and who's going to be left.
Yeah, I actually like that move. Generally speaking, you're right. I do prefer to move down, but 14 to 11 in this draft is actually pretty significant.
Okay.
Especially if you're looking for a defenseman. That being said, moving from 11 to even 8 or 9 could also be significant. So we could still see him make another move, and I would not be opposed to it either.
Yeah, I think we're just they're waiting to see who's not picked and who's left at this point.
Yeah.
They might already have a trade partner lined up saying, if this guy's available, we're going to move this to you.
Would you be upset if at 11 the Sharks took Cole Yzerman?
No, not at all.
Okay. Because there were ties between Yzerman and Celebrini, of course. And I know Zeev Boyum was talking about Celebrini during the prospect camp, and they were talking about each other. They're friendly in some way. I don't know if you talk about that maybe a little bit.
So Yzerman and Celebrini were teammates last year for the U.S. National Team Development Program. And if Celebrini chooses to go back to college, they will be teammates again next year. I believe they're both committed to Boston University. It's either that or Boston College. I always get those 2 schools mixed up. So theoretically they could be teammates again next year, and if they draft Yzerman, I think there's the big thing with Yzerman this year, because originally coming into this season, he was expected to be like a top 5, maybe even like 2nd overall pick, but he really didn't develop his game as much, or round out his game as much as people were expecting this year. Still that really elite goal-scoring talent, but just still a lot of junior habits in his game, not a great defensive player, not perhaps a little bit selfish with the puck at times. Those are the big concerns with him. But if he's playing with Celebrini, like, those guys already have a lot of chemistry together. They know each other. Like, it's hard for me to not see Yzerman just developing into a top-line winger if he's playing with Celebrini.
Well, I was going to say, even you were talking about playing with Celebrini, but for the defensive deficiencies, he's also going to be joining a team that is getting loaded up with these PKers, right? These guys that are 3rd and 4th line, 2-way type of forwards that are responsible defensively, and they're going to soak up all those PK minutes anyway, right? So maybe it's not such a bad thing for him if they did select Cole Yzerman. And even if he didn't play with Celebrini, he's surrounded by a team full of guys that are going to pick up on the defensive side, so maybe that wouldn't be such a bad thing. But at 11, you'd still be happy.
I would be happy with Yzerman at 11, yeah.
Okay.
At this point, he is pretty much the only forward on the board that I would want at 11.
Interesting, okay. But you still think that the Sharks should take a defenseman as opposed to Yzerman?
Probably, yeah.
Depending on who it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, at this point, the Sharks prospect pool, our top 3 prospects are Celebrini, Smith, and Musty.
Right.
And then maybe Shakir Mukamadulin is our 4th best prospect, and that's the first defenseman. And after him, there's not a lot of defenseman prospects either. so they just have a need for that. Okay, very interesting.
So
Ottawa just took Carter Yakimchuk, 7th overall, as I was saying.
Okay.
In my opinion, he's the worst one of the top 5. So I don't know what's happening. We'll see. We'll see how far Boyum and Perek fall.
You know, it's funny because you talked about moving up from 11 to even just 8 or 9 could be such a huge thing.
Well, those guys are still available.
We're at 8 right now.
Yep.
So unless Seattle,
if we see if we see Gary Bettman go to the stage to announce a trade,
we have a trade to announce.
Right.
Yeah.
If there is a trade here, I do expect it to be the Sharks.
So it's funny, actually, they were just showing was the next best available, and they had Boyum at the 3rd best available player. So 8, 9, 10, that would put him right before the Sharks make a pick.
They're not going off that list.
I
If
believe
it goes off, I'm saying,
Yeah.
if it goes off of that list in terms of where they would actually pick, the Sharks would be just outside.
Is this the best available, or is that the original rankings?
I think that's it's current best available is what they're
Okay.
listing. For those of you who are watching at home, there's that list where you can see a little blue square. It's kind of over here somewhere, where it says Megan's best available, and so those are the guys who are left. And so in her opinion, Boyum is the 3rd next best available.
For what it's worth, Boyum is my top-ranked player that is left available.
Yeah.
So
There's a chance.
So there's a
chance.
chance.
You're saying there's a chance.
I mean, I would like him. I think.
Seattle, though, I think is a really smart drafting team.
Okay.
So I kind of expect them to take Boyum here.
But they still have.
They're not on the clock yet. It says they're on the clock, but they're
called the
giving them
sphere
a
on the
lot of
outside.
time. It's supposed to be 3 minutes. They're giving
not
them like
counting down.
yeah, it's not counting down exactly. There it goes. All right, so
Good. Aaron, you had some notes about the Meyer trade and what that had ended up turning into.
Yeah.
Do you want to kind of talk a little bit about that and just kind of seeing, like what it means for today and for this coming season?
Well, I feel like Greer got kind of dumped on for that trade
Yes.
for Timo Meier, right?
Absolutely.
Now the essential players going to New Jersey, or the assets really, was Timo Meier.
Yes.
Then there's a kind of just dump players that they're not even in the NHL anymore. They were just kind of like, we needed to move some personnel to get some other guys in.
Yeah.
So let's see, there was coming back was Zetterlund.
Yes.
Mook Medulin,
Yep.
who I'm expecting to jump into the lineup this season. A Hoychuk, who was okay, but he got traded to Calgary for a 5th-round pick and then bolted to the KHL.
Yep.
So the Sharks got a 5th-round pick out of that for nothing, right?
Yeah.
He's now gone. They got a 1st-round pick, which turned into Quentin Musty, who's going to be a fantastic player, and a 2nd-round pick, which they used to trade up to the 11th overall. So
Yeah.
that was the pick they used to jump up to get from 11th to
14th to 11th.
14th to 11th. So the gift that keeps on giving here, the Timo Meier trade, how many assets are going to be coming back? Now, hopefully they get a defenseman or somebody. They're going to use that and pick another great player. Just pretty much all of those players coming from Timo Meier.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Again, fantastic asset management by Mike Greer.
And as good as Timo Meier is and was, he's not. We don't need Timo Meier right now on this roster. We're in a rebuilding phase, and we certainly did not need to pay a player $10 million a year. We've kind of gone through that experiment. Didn't work out too well. So as good as the player is, and as much as Sharks fans would like to have him wearing teal while we're competitive, I think 100% it was the right move at the time. And as you've just kind of gone through, the asset management there is fantastic. So again, hats off to Mike Greer. I think somebody called him Big Money Mike for the trades.
Big Money Mike.
Yeah, Big Money Mike, not bad.
to add on to that, I
Yes.
think there's a chance, not a huge chance, but the way Musty has developed this season, there is a chance that he becomes a player just as good as Timo Meier by himself. So then everything else is just gravy. And Fabian Zetterlund he was probably the best
Great
player on
year.
the team this year, other than Granlund. So
Yeah, well, I forgot where he had
that trade's
25
looking pretty
goals.
good right now.
Zetterlund?
So was it
He had
25?
25 or 26 goals, I think.
I thought he had 24,
24?
but he was right up there
Yeah.
for first or second on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was up there. Man, last season seems like a blur. Yeah, I love Quentin Musty, and I keep talking about him on the show because I love how I watched him at the prospect game last year, and I was like, he stood out compared to everybody else, including Will Smith. I was like, who is that guy? He's a beast on the ice, and he looked like an NHL player playing against the prospects.
Yeah.
Or amongst the prospects.
Yeah.
Like, wow, he really stood out to me in a good way. So yeah, I'm excited about him.
So they're going through right now. It looks like Seattle, their timer has run out, so they need to make their selection. They're currently walking up to the podium.
Ron Francis?
I'm very interested in these next couple of picks because it does shape who the Sharks are going to end up picking, obviously. And we've had a couple surprises already. Some guys that just central scouting, let alone on your list, not supposed to be going as early as they had. So kind of interested in seeing if we're going to see another one of these picks that's kind of out in left field. A big surprise that would leave the Sharks with just that many more slam dunk options. And
I believe that's Boyum right there.
Did they just pick Boyum?
I didn't hear who they picked, but they did make the pick.
This is Matty Beniers to make the selection.
Oh, I see.
So here it comes. So Barclay Catton.
Wow. Okay.
Interesting.
Who wasn't supposed to go till a little bit later on, right?
This is not a huge reach for Catton in my book, but it is surprising, again, that it's a forward. These top defensemen are still available. Zeev Boyum, I think, is not the highest upside of the defenseman in this class, but he just looks like such a pro playing NCAA hockey already this past season.
Yeah.
Defensemen, it is very, very rare to go straight to the NHL from the draft. Even first overall picks, we saw Owen Power win first overall, went back to college. Boyum is almost certainly going to be going back to college next season as well, but as soon as he comes to the NHL, I think he's going to be an impact top 4 guy, and he's only going to grow from there.
So there's 3 more picks. There's Calgary at 9, New Jersey at 10, and then the Sharks, right? So there were 3 notable defensemen left on that list. Siliev, Boyum, and then there was one other one, I can't remember the name.
Who was Perek, Zane Perek.
Okay, so of those, you'd be happy with any of them?
I would not be happy with Siliev.
Okay.
Just because very limited offensive upside.
Okay.
He's 6'7", pretty good.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
I forgot. That's what his thing. He was the big boy. Yeah.
He's a pretty dang good skater for a guy of his size. Probably going to be the best defensive defenseman from this class, but honestly, like, as an NHL comparable, I think like Tyler Myers is probably a decent shot. And do you really want to be drafting Tyler Myers at 11th overall? I don't know about that.
Okay. Do you think that Greer has a certain type that he would go for one way or the other? Do you think that
6'4" or above?
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So do you think that a guy like Siliev has a better chance getting selected by the Sharks? Let's say that the pick was right now for the Sharks, and he's got these 3 options. Do you think that Greer is looking at one over the other just based on the size, just based on physicality, that blue-collar work ethic that we've been talking about with all the forwards that he's been signing and bringing in?
All of these guys have size. I mean, Boyum, I believe, is like right at 6 foot, so that's kind of on the smaller-ish side for defensemen, but he's a big guy. And Perek is 6'3", and we actually missed a defenseman earlier. We forgot about Sam Dickinson.
That's right.
He's a lefty. So all those other guys, I believe, are righties. Dickinson's a lefty, but still has a lot of offensive upside.
Okay.
So if they just want a guy with upside, they're pretty much guaranteed that at this point, because you still have Dickinson, Boyum, and Perek. And all 3 of those guys could be like top power play guys. So I don't expect it to be Siliev, even with his size, because I think Greer knows we need upside on the defensive side of things in the prospect pool right now. So I expect it to be one of those 3 guys.
Okay. And if you were to give a comp for, you said Tyler Myers for Salayev?
Yeah.
Am I pronouncing that correctly? I need Dan Rizanowski in here.
Either way.
Okay, good. For Silly. For him was Tyler Myers. For Buyam, who's the comp would you say for Buyam?
That's a bit tougher.
Okay.
I would say maybe like a Miro Heiskanen.
Okay.
Not quite to that level. I don't think he's going to be as good as Heiskanen, but relatively similar. He's a little bit smaller than Heiskanen. Heiskanen's 6'3", I believe.
Okay.
But relatively similar play style.
Okay.
And ceiling, I think.
So it sounds like no matter what the Sharks do here, they're going to be left with somebody who's really going to help this franchise on the defensive end.
Yeah.
Assuming they pick a defenseman, I can't imagine that they don't. Pretty good, 49. 4.99 in the super chat. You have to go Zeev. Am I saying this? Perek?
Yes.
Perek or Yzerman, which is insane that they are there. So he's not looking at Dickinson at all. He's saying going with another forward. So if they pick Buyam and Perek, he's saying go Yzerman as your shot there. Go with another forward. First of all, before we get into that, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Do appreciate you supporting this show. It goes a long way. So again, thanks for your comment. And now we're going to get a response to that. So how do you feel about that?
Honestly, I would not be super surprised if Calgary took Yzerman right here.
There you go.
Because he's the most similar player stylistically to Teach.
Okay.
So if that was their plan, to me personally, that would just make the most sense as the backup plan. So I wouldn't be terribly surprised if Yzerman actually was not available at 11. But like I said earlier, I wouldn't be mad if they took him there either. But at this point, with those defensemen still available, I feel like you kind of have to take one of them. Okay.
And the only way that you're staring at the ceiling is if they're not picking one of those guys that we've just mentioned then. If the Sharks go off the board and go pick somebody else, then it's why did you move down to 11, right?
Yes, I would be very surprised. There's a couple of other players that I would be surprised if they took, but not super mad.
Okay.
One player that I like is Egor Chernyshov. He does kind of fit the Mike Greer kind of mold. Okay, so Zane Perek just went to Calgary. So now we're down to Dickinson and Buyam
for defensive prospect,
for the upside guys left. Yeah. But yeah, Chernyshov, really hard worker, 6'3", big body, really good skill set as well. Somewhat similar player, I would say, to Quentin Musty. Pretty safe bet, I think, to be a top 6 forward. And again, really hard worker, 200-foot player as well.
Nice.
So he's just like my favorite off-the-board pick, if you will.
And so the next one in line is New Jersey. Now, maybe you know better, too, because of the whole fantasy drafting and the games that you play there. So what do you think New Jersey would be looking for? Are they looking for more of a forward, like a Cole Yzerman, who maybe should have gone a lot earlier in the draft, or maybe not? Or do you think they're looking for the next best defensive prospect? What do you think?
New Jersey's, they're pretty stacked as it is for current. They're just looking for the pipeline for the future.
Yeah.
So future assets. At this point, I think they take best player for their organization.
Okay.
And they got the Hughes brothers. They have a center and a defenseman, Hughes.
Yep.
They've got, Mercer. They have a glut of young talent. They're going to be. They should have done better than they did last season, but they just traded for Markstrom, so they have their goaltending set.
Yeah.
So New Jersey's going to, on paper, New Jersey looks great, but that's what they said last year, and they did not do so great.
Oh, they got what's his name? Marshawn Lynch on there for Seattle. That's awesome.
They really wanted their 10th overall pick. They didn't want the Sharks to get it, so they tanked last year to keep it.
I will say the Devils have a lot of defensemen, top-end defensemen in their prospect pool, so I wouldn't be super shocked to see them take a forward here.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I was looking for, was to see like what direction they might go. Now there was a report about New Jersey being willing, and maybe more than willing, to trade away the 10th and a player whose name eludes me at the moment. I don't know if you know who it is.
I don't recall a specific player, but I have heard that they're looking to move the pick. Although The initial rumor I heard was that they were looking for a goalie. Obviously, they went and signed Markstrom, so that probably isn't the case anymore. Or they didn't sign him, but they traded for him.
Yeah.
So I think it would make a lot of sense for him to move this pick, because honestly, they're a team that doesn't really need it, given they're a young team that's pretty good, up and coming, and they still have a pretty good prospect pool. So I could see them moving this pick. If they do, it probably won't be the Sharks, because they're just moving up one spot at that point. But yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do.
Okay. And the other question I have now is that the Sharks, again, he had moved up, Mike Greer, from 14 to 11. We do have the 33rd pick, the first pick of the second round.
Yep.
Do you see Mike Greer doing anything else today to bump another first-round pick out of this draft?
I kind of doubt it.
Okay.
Especially the way the draft has gone so far. I think he's going to be really happy with whoever he gets at 11. And at that point, value-wise, it's probably just better to stick with 33 and 52. Get 2 second-rounders, because at that point, it's like a 50-50, so one of them will probably develop into a good player, probably miss on the other one.
Okay.
But if you trade both of them and get, like, say, pick 25 or something, now you've kind of put your eggs in one basket with that player. So if that player doesn't work out,
is 25 that much better than 33 in this draft? No. Okay. So you would stay put.
I don't think it's worth it to move up at that point, unless they're moving up into like 15 again or something like that.
Scott Hannon's on right now. Talking about what you just talked about with us.
We had it first.
Yeah.
It's okay. All right. Well, what do you want to do here? Should we take a short break and then come on right back just before the selection is made here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do that. Guys, hang out with us. Don't go anywhere. It's going to be a very quick break, just enough to get a drink of water maybe, and then we'll come on right back, and we'll see who gets drafted by New Jersey, and then, of course, who gets drafted by the Sharks at 11, which should be quick, because there's no, hey, thanks for this, and the guys at the watch party and blah, blah, blah. It's just going to be, we've already done this, go up, make the pick, right? So it should be fast.
Sure.
Okay, we're hoping.
Right.
We'll be right back. Okay, an interesting development. New Jersey just took defenseman Anton Salayev, who was the guy that's the 6'7" monster that Graham is not that high on, which means the Sharks have a very difficult decision in front of them now. Either you take Zeke Bouillon, Sam Dickinson, Cole Eiserman, all of which I think should have gone by now.
that's debatable with Yzerman specifically. But Boyum probably should be off the board. Dickinson is left-handed, so it makes sense to me that he's still available, considering that Boyum and Parekh are still available.
Okay.
Personally, I think it's between Boyum and Parekh for me.
Well, Parekh got selected.
Oh wait, did he?
Yeah, he got selected. Yeah.
Who took him?
2 teams ago, I think.
It was 2 picks ago. So, here we go.
Calgary, right?
Well,
Yes,
Zeev
Calgary.
Boyum is still there,
So they're about to make the call on the pick, I think. Well, no, sorry. The Sharks are on the clock. That's what just happened. So they've got 2.5 minutes or so to go before they make this decision here. And again, it's really good news because all the ones that you're talking about that we're interested in, all fantastic players. So I don't think the Sharks can really go wrong here as long as they pick one of those. Huh?
Zeev Boyum.
Zeev?
It's
I'm
a
going
great
with
name.
Zeev. Who would you rather have?
Between Boyum,
Between those 3, Boyum, Dickinson, and Yzerman.
probably Boyum.
Boyum.
He's my top-ranked player still available. I have him at 3, so.
Oh, that's right. You said you had him at 3. That's right. Hey, I'm extremely excited to hear this pick, and then once this pick is in, we've got somebody who has not been on the show, and I'm so excited to talk to him. He's standing right there, and again, I don't get starstruck easily. This is one of those guys. So you guys are going to need to stick around after they make this pick. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. We're going to do a short break and just hang out. So. Again, 1.5 minutes before they make this pick here. Debbie's getting her picture in right now. Yeah, it's okay. So we're all thinking Zeev Boyum.
It's a long, slow walk to the podium.
It really is. What's there to think about, guys? Mike Greer just sitting there at the table trying to figure out what he's going to have for lunch, maybe?
I wonder if the pick is for sale and he's waiting for someone to...
If the pick's for sale?
I wonder if he's not going to walk up to the podium at all. He might just make the call from the desk.
Maybe.
I believe they did that last year. Well, they always do that in the second round.
Yeah.
And on, but since it's their second pick, they may do that. I'm not certain. Because I would imagine they've already made their mind up at this point.
But for the prospects, for the guys that are going through this whole process, it's for me. I would walk up to the podium. I would walk up and give them their.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
Especially the first round.
Yeah, exactly. For the first round, obviously, day 2, it's just rapid fire, right? I get that. But I would love to see them walk up, and I'm assuming they will. I can't imagine they don't. And I think they're walking up. Oh wait, no, sorry, that's something else. Yeah, so they'll be walking up very shortly here. I don't know what else am I going to say here? Really?
Well, you put in the comments, who do you want them to pick?
Yeah,
right
there
now?
you go. Who do you guys think they're going to pick with the 11th overall? It doesn't have to be one of the 3 that we were talking about just here. If there was a guy outside of those 3, who would you say that you'd be happy with?
Like I said, Egor Chernyshov. That would be like my number 1 outside of those 3. After that, I don't know. It would probably be another forward, but they're all kind of the same to me.
After that, you would rather them trade down again?
Yes.
Okay. Good to know. All right,
Sharks
at the podium.
Wouldn't make sense considering.
The San Jose Sharks are proud to select from the London Knights of NHL.
Oh, Dickinson. There you go. Hey. Okay. Sam Dickinson from the London Knights. You know who else played with the London Knights this year? The right-handed shooter. I can't hear. Haltonen played with Dickinson this year with the London Knights.
Yes.
So they already know each other fairly well from that. Nice to see the 2 of them getting a chance to show it off at the prospect game. That'll be fun to watch.
So power play specialist. Yeah.
Absolutely. Why not? So I'm happy with this pick. 6'3", 203 pounds, a pretty big guy.
Yeah, he's bigger than Boyum. I'm pretty sure he shoots left, though.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% certain.
More defensemen on the move.
Well, someone fact check you down here. They'll tell you.
I'm just shocked. I'm pretty shocked Dickinson went ahead of Boyum, specifically because Boyum's right-handed. Yeah. Unless I'm getting that mixed up. I could be wrong, but those right-handed defensemen just generally hold their value longer. Those guys are premium assets at the trade deadline, especially with the level of upside. I do think Dickinson has higher upside overall, but I also kind of just like drafting out of the NCAA more than the CHL as a personal preference. So if I was in charge of NHL teams, that would kind of be the direction I would lean towards. Just because it's a much higher level of competition, you really get to see what these players' habits are going to be like against pro competition. You don't really get that in the CHL. But absolutely, I mean, it's not a bad pick at all.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to take a very, very short break. We're going to bring our other guests back onto the show here, and then we'll be right back. Don't go away. See you in just a couple seconds. Like I said, you're going to want to stick around. Drew Remenda is... come on now. Drew, I mean, and I don't want to make any of us seem a little too old here, but I've been watching you for the longest time. And
okay, I'm done. I'm not
See, I screwed it up already. You should do all the talking.
Wait, you know what? It's funny you say that because I had about 4 or 5 people down there say it, and I'm looking at them going, okay, you got to be about 20, same age as my boys, 25, 27, that area. And I say, thank you very much. It's really nice. I'm glad you've been watching. Then I walk away and go, I really am that old now, aren't I? I am now. And I thought about it. I get up at 5 in the morning.
Wow.
I don't know why. It just happens. I start having dinner at 4. If I have dinner anything after 5 o'clock, I'm eating late. You know, you get up and your back's a little bit sore, and
I'm there
I
already.
make those sounds like when I get up. Like, I make a lot of grandpa sounds now. So I appreciate you've been watching me that long. I do.
Know, what the saddest part of that whole exchange is that I can relate to 2 of those things at least already. Oh,
but
man.
But it's a huge compliment to me and to Randy and Danny and that you have stuck with us this long, but also that we've been able to be here this long. You know, I've had a couple of sabbaticals, as I call them, right? Some of them on my own, some of them not. But I've always been welcomed back. And that's the amazing thing about being a San Jose Shark. It's just we're just talking that I went to Edmonton for a few years. And I don't say I hated it, but it wasn't home. It wasn't home. This is home. Even though Edmonton is a 5-hour drive from my hometown, this is my home. So thank you for having me.
Certainly glad to have you back at home for the past couple seasons now. And great to have you on the show for the first time. Now, we've had Randy Hahn. We've had Dan Rusanowski. We've had Jamie Baker even. Got Scott Hannon. This is the first appearance.
So you're just waiting for the best to come in.
Of course. We were just warming up. Now that we're semi-pro and making old man noises now and then, we'll get you on here. So let's see. You were a coach with the Sharks when they were struggling in the league before, and I like everything I'm saying so far is just a sore point with him. But I'd love your thoughts on kind of what it takes for the organization to pull itself kind of out of that hole? Because you were there at the very beginning when the Sharks were a new and struggling team.
We lost 100 games quicker than anybody in the history of the National Hockey League. So I got that going for me, which is nice.
Yes.
But then, that second year we lost 71 games, right? So we go 11, 71, and 2.
Yeah.
We had that stretch where we lost 17 in a row, NHL record. That stretch we went 130-1. Try that on for size.
Yeah.
When you're 30-year-old coach breaking his teeth into the league and thinking, oh, this is the NHL. Oh, my God, this is the NHL.
Yeah.
But then the next year we have a 58-point improvement, biggest in history from one season to the next. We beat Detroit thanks to Jamie Baker.
Yep.
And crossbar, Johan Garpenlov just a little bit down, and we beat Toronto.
Yeah.
When Detroit and Toronto were in the Western Conference, right? What had happened there was a couple of things. One, Dean Lombardi did a great job in bringing in veteran players.
Yeah.
So let's compare that to what Mike Greer has done. Barclay Goodrow comes back.
Yeah. Yep.
Right there. I'm watching Barclay Goodrow score that goal.
Yeah.
I'm in Saskatoon with my sons.
Yeah.
And we go nuts. My wife looks at me because she thinks I should still be mad at the Sharks for letting me go. Look at the guys that I know are there. Look at the guys we know. The guys we love.
Yeah.
So Barclay Goodrow, a leader, a veteran guy, came up the hard way. He's the guy you want around, right?
Yeah.
You've got Mark Edward Vlasic still. You've got Logan, hopefully, coming back. You have Mario Ferraro. You've got Nico Sturm. By the way, I am a fan. Right?
We were just
Nico's my guy. I love Nico Sturm. He's fantastic.
Yeah. And total professional.
Yes.
And we've got a lot of good veterans around. And then he brings in Grundstrom and Ty Dellandrea.
Right.
So you've got surrounding the young guys that are coming in with some good players. And then we had some young guys. We had Patty Falloon. We had Ray Whitney.
Yeah.
We had Garpenlov was even young at that time, played a couple years in the league. Arturs was young at that time. So we had some young talent coming in. But the key was on that team, we had a bunch of guys who had something to prove. And I think when you look at the Sharks now, it's different because, the money is different now.
Yeah.
Money was way different then, and they were hungrier then. It's going to sound like an old man that I am, but players today are skilled.
Yeah.
They are in great shape. They've been training for this moment their entire lives. They are entitled and they are spoiled. I don't mean that that's just the way it is. That's just the way they are. And sometimes when you talk to some of the older guys, you think, or the younger guys, you think to yourself, they don't make them like they used to now. But that's why you bring those older guys in, I think, guys. I don't know. Maybe I'm full of crap, and usually I am.
You would know better than we would.
That a guy like Nico Sturm, who's come up the hard way, can help teach him. You've got Patrick Marleau and Mike Ricci and Joe Thornton and Evgeny Nabokov out there helping him as well, teaching him the right way to do things. So the one thing that's really exciting about Macklin Celebrini is talking to everybody that knows him, are saying things like, this kid's compete level is huge. He was over at the World Championships. Didn't end up playing for Canada because NHL teams got knocked out and so more guys came to play.
Yeah.
But Colton Parayko from the St. Louis Blues, he was talking about how professional Macklin was and was amazed. He said, this guy's a pro already. This guy is already NHL caliber discipline. So that's a great sign. So I think, for all of us, it's been painful the last number of years.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, 19 wins hurts.
Brutal.
Yeah, right? It's brutal, right?
We tend to look at it more optimistically, right? It's not about the record or the win or the loss so much as, wow, look how Eklund's developing this season.
Well, that's what you have to look at, right?
That's the way we've been looking at the
We knew
past
they were
couple
gonna be
seasons.
terrible, so we were like, we need to find the positives here, and the development of the younger players, and you saw the huge difference between Eklund in the beginning of the season versus the end of the season.
Yeah.
He was more of a NHL regular at the end of the season, and was playing like it, and playing much better, more confident.
Whose development have you liked the most?
From what, last season?
From last season.
Zetterlund for me.
For me, it's still Eklund. I just the confidence, I think. For him to go as a kid, coming into the league, skating in from right to left, and then boom, pulling the spin move, like that's some confidence. And it's, in my head, I just heard you saying that's confidence when Hertl put it between his legs. Same type of thing. These young guys, high skill level, like you just talked about, pulling off these amazing, incredible moves against veteran players, adults, in the hardest league to play in the world.
Yeah, I think you're right on both counts. That whole line, because Granlund too. Granlund had a tough year the year before in Pittsburgh, and wasn't, was injured and wasn't the guy they thought he was going to be. Came here and was our leader.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think there's some development there that we can be happy with and be optimistic with. That's why today was such a great moment. Macklin gets picked, and we were talking about it on the Sharks Audio Network that, we might be in, say, I don't know, let's say 6 years.
Yeah.
Look back at that moment when Macklin's carrying around a silver chalice and we go, hey, remember when?
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Right. Yeah.
He goes up here with the knock on wood. I love it. So, obviously, I think you would say that Mike Grier has done a phenomenal job with getting the Sharks not so much back to competitiveness now, but setting themselves up for a future of competitiveness. As you just said, maybe 6 years or so from now, we're looking at Macklin skating around the ice, holding that trophy over his head. So you think that Mike Grier has done it the right way, bringing in some of the veterans, some of the guys that are those blue-collar workers, but then drafting these high-skill level guys to come in and surrounding them with this the right players, the right mentality, right?
Yeah, I think we see a plan, don't we?
Yeah.
I mean, before, being as good as they were, it was just a given we were going to be good.
Right.
But then when things started to slide a little bit and tried to keep that competitive window open, you make some moves that don't pay off. You gamble on a few individuals that don't have the character or the leadership or the want that you were hoping for and aren't team players. And now you're looking at a situation where the teardown had to happen. And the teardown hurt like crazy.
Yeah.
But the last, from the Erik Karlsson trade to the Meyer trade to even Tomas trade, we've got some not even payback from it, but maybe even some positives that you can look at and go, yeah, we love those guys. Once a Shark, always a Shark. But maybe that plan is starting to take some shape now. So now the rebuild's happening. And it looks like he's not just pouring the foundation and hoping it's going to stick. It looks like they've got a good idea. Well, that looks like they do have a good idea of what they want to do. But the other aspect of it, and this has to be important as well, is that what they've got with the Barracuda, you've got to develop that.
Yeah.
The Sharks have always, with Roy Sommer in Kentucky and then in Kansas City, I was in Kansas City. Roy in Kentucky and then in Massachusetts and then in where are the Barracuda before?
Here in San Jose. Well,
Worcester in Massachusetts.
Worcester. Yeah.
So forget all the places they moved.
You've been around, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's the old man coming back. That you look at and go, you have to be able to bring some of these guys in here.
Yeah.
Like, you have to. One of the teams that does it really well, has put a lot of resources into it, and are really pushing the development are the Anaheim Ducks.
Yes.
Whatever they got in Anaheim, they've got in San Diego. Nutritionists, skating coaches, strength coaches, development coaches.
Well, the Sharks did poach Todd Marchant,
Right.
who was a player development in Anaheim.
Yeah.
And now he's with the Sharks organization.
Yeah, that helps that playing together. He and Mike play together, right?
Exactly.
But you need guys like that.
Yep.
So, again, a long-winded answer as usual with me, but it's a plan is in place, and I think we can see it take effect. I think maybe that's why we're feeling so optimistic today, besides we got Macklin Celebrini.
Yeah, right. I was more excited. I mean, obviously excited about Celebrini, but I had no idea what they were going to do with that 11th pick. I didn't know which direction they were going to go, if they were going to even trade it. Well, at the time, yesterday, the 14th pick, and now they moved up to the 11th. But I was that was for me for today was who's that pick going to be, right? Yeah. And what's that going to hold for the future? Because I'm glad they picked a defenseman. They needed the top chip defenseman. Yeah. And he's big.
Size.
Right.
6'3", yeah.
Well, Mike Gray doesn't pick anyone under 6 feet.
Well, look at our team.
Yeah.
Like Tomas Hertl said, you talked to David Quinn, David told the story that when he went into in the room in Vegas, he goes, I knew we were small, but I didn't know we were that small.
Yeah.
But when we're down on the ice during the games, and you're watching a warm up, and you're looking at the other team going, damn, they're big.
Yeah.
And then Sean Madison, my producer, says, he goes, you say that about every other team. He goes, is it because they're really big or we're not? I said, I think it's a comparison. But
small team.
You can't coach size.
Yeah.
You can't develop size.
Yeah.
You either have to have it. And the game, size still matters in this game.
Yeah.
You've got to have you can have a William Eklund as long as you've got, a Justin Bailey, if Justin Bailey would start playing physical.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Or a Nico Stern.
Yeah. And again, you can't go wrong with Nico Stern.
Yeah.
Total pro. Yeah.
Obviously a little facetious. I was telling him I want them to sign him 8-year contract. Let's get him back in here. Keep.
Listen.
That's a guy I can see being a coach down the line. Like he's just such a brainiac guy and very smart.
His professionalism is ridiculous.
Yeah.
He is. His warm-ups would waste anybody. I work out 6 times a day, or 6 times a week, I should say.
6 times a day.
Wow.
Jeez, man.
I was back in.
That's why you're making old man noises.
Yeah, exactly. So I work out 6 times a week. I lift, I run, I do martial arts, and I watch Nico's warm up, and I go, nope. And I think I
just
work
the warm up.
Yeah, just his warm up.
Yeah.
He does quick feet drills. He does stretching. He does all these motion drills. I mean, he is so. And then he goes up to the gym and works out. He is dedicated to his craft. That's why you have to have guys like him on your team when you're bringing young guys in. Because he comes, coach, what do I have to do? And you go, that
follow
guy
him.
right there, follow him.
Yep.
Do what he does.
Yeah. Set the tone.
Yeah.
Lead even if it's not on the ice and during a game. You're leading through the locker room and through the culture and everything else. And I think, again, going back to Mike Greer and what he's done a really good job of setting that culture. And somebody else who's going to be tasked with setting culture, Ryan Warsofsky, right? New head coach for the Sharks. Obviously, he was the assistant coach last season. They let David Quinn go, and he steps up to the plate. What does Ryan Warsofsky bring as a head coach that would be different from what he brings as an assistant coach?
Wow, that's a great question.
Yeah.
First off, the Sharks are a better organization today because of David Quinn.
Absolutely.
He's an outstanding human being. And one thing I give him a ton of credit for is the guys that he had them playing right to the end. They put in the effort, without a doubt. I think he had a Sisyphean task to try to make this team a winner that he had the last 2 years. But David Quinn, an outstanding human being. But there were obviously some issues that Mike didn't like or wanted to improve on. And that happens for every coach. Ryan Warsofsky, there wasn't one conversation I walk away from Ryan Warsofsky and not think to myself the same thing. This guy is sharp. He is bright. He's young. He's got a proven track record of winning a championship. They came in the year he came in to Chicago.
Yeah.
They didn't make the playoffs. The next year they win the Calder.
Right.
He is a guy who's different than David on the bench. He's calmer. Mind you, that's as an assistant coach you can't be calm.
Right.
Or you can be calm.
Yeah.
Because you let the head coach do the job.
Yeah.
When I was assistant coach for the Sharks, can I tell a story?
Yeah, please.
Absolutely.
You never have to ask us if you can tell a story.
So we're playing. I think it was Philadelphia. I think Ronnie Hextall or Hartford when Ronnie Hextall was in Hartford. Dougie Smolik, you guys remember Dougie Smolik? Way back in the day playing for us, and Dougie Smolik's defenseman. Somehow he's in deep. It's in the second period, and he comes around their net, and Ronnie Hextall comes out and gives him a shot, right? Down he goes. Nobody sees it but me, okay? And I'm yelling from the bench and whistle goes. Our trainer, Tommy Woodcock, goes out to see him, and George goes, what happened? And I said, Hextall happened. Hextall's the reason that happened. He gave him a shot. Gave him one of these. Said he's got to be gone. It's either a butt end or but it's a major.
Yeah.
And the linesman comes over and George says, hey, did any of you guys see that? And he goes, oh, he just ran into the net. I said, that's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. And then Mick Magoo was the referee. Michael, as he's been called. Now he's over there, and I'm yelling still from the bench. There's no call is going to be made, and I'm still yelling from the bench. And Mick Magoo yells at George, because the face-off's down right in their corner, right by our bench. He goes, tell him to shut up. And I yell back, you tell me to shut up. So Mick skates over, comes to the bench, goes, I go, yeah, and he goes, shut up. And so that was the extent of you know what? Maybe you should just calm down.
Assistants, just chill out.
Okay, I'll give you one more.
Okay, good.
Playing Calgary in the playoffs, right? Game 6 here. We're down. We won the first 2, and then they won 3-2. And so we have a meeting, because remember Artie went crazy in that game when ran at Sheldon Kennedy, and so we have a meeting. Kevin Constantine comes in and goes, you guys, everybody leave for a couple hours, come back at 4, we're going to meet, come back with 3 solid ideas of what we need to do. So we all come back with our ideas. Number 1 idea, start flats. Start Wade Flaherty. Artie's gone. He's just gone. And then we have a few others, and one of mine was put me on the bench. Bench is dead, and Dave King, who's coaching Calgary, is kicking your ass on line changes. I'll watch Dave, and I'll help get the bench going. I didn't want to go upstairs anymore. I wanted to be on the bench. So Kevin brings me in, and we talk about it, and he goes, okay, I'm with you on that. We need a little jump start. I went, okay. So first period, I am a cross between a cheerleader and the loudest guy in your frat house. Okay. Like I am on 8 beers, I am yelling and screaming, okay? And the great Ray Whitney comes back to the bench, and I'm standing there at the end, right near Calgary's bench. He comes back and he looks and goes, JD, which is James Drew. That's what they used to call JD, okay? JD. And what? He goes, would you shut the I said, what? He goes, we know we got to get, because they spent an extended time in their zone, right?
Yeah.
So he goes, we know we got to get it out. Okay? We know we should chip it. We know we've got to get to there. We know they need help. Shut up. And I went, okay, right?
All right.
And so, game goes on, and I am now church mouse, right? Ray scores a big goal in the third period. It's 2-2, I think he gets the 3-2 goal. And place goes nuts, right?
Yeah.
And he comes back to the bench. He sits down in front of me, bench going crazy, and I do this. And he waits for a beat, and he turns and goes, okay, let's scrap it out, boy. But it was a great lesson. You can't be a cheerleader, you got to be, because the players can hear you. They get nervous out there, too.
Yeah.
Okay, then sorry, any of those more 2 stories. What the hell were we talking about?
Ozzy, we're talking about becoming a head coach.
I was hoping he'd just tell another story.
Yeah. So, Ryan is...
It's very sharp.
Very sharp.
Yeah.
Really sharp. Has a great understanding of how to relate to players. There wasn't one guy apparently in the exit interviews, and this might have been one of the reasons that Mike went with Ryan Morsovsky instead of, say, Marco Sturm.
You know what's funny about that?
That was my lead.
He was saying that before I heard anybody else saying anything about Marco Sturm.
Yeah.
He goes, it would be interesting, and maybe the reason you might disagree, especially a guy who was in the Edmonton Oilers organization, but he was saying, gosh, wouldn't it be interesting if they grabbed Marco Sturm, who's the head coach for Team Germany, and who's a German player that's a high profile that the Sharks could afford in a year when he's the UFA?
He'd look good in Teal,
Leon Draisaitl. So
hey,
that's what he was.
They haven't, and they said with Draisaitl, not apparently, they said with Draisaitl they're not interested in going in this year without getting a contract done, because he's got 1 more year left.
Yeah.
Leon, at the press conference at the exit interview, said, I'm going to give you the most boring answer ever. I'm going to talk to my team, my guys, and we're going to decide what's best for us. The owners, I know they want to get a deal done, but how good would that guy look in Teal?
That would really jumpstart the Sharks.
And do we have any other connections to Germany that we know of?
Hasso Plattner.
Yeah. So, anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Right.
But going back to the players, apparently, and they have the exit interviews. On the exit interviews, the managers will talk to the players about everything, okay? And it's completely, don't worry about it. We're not kissing and telling here. There's just talk, and we'll talk. And he apparently, all of the players had nothing but high praise for Ryan Warsofsky.
Yeah.
He connects with people.
Yeah.
And nowadays, players need to be connected with. There's you guys remember Mark Habshy? He played in the NHL, and then he's a good junior coach. He's over coaching in Europe now. Okay. Mark had a saying, which is, players have to care about. Players don't care about how much you know until they know about how much you care.
Okay.
And the players want you to believe in them. That belief system matters. So I think Ryan gives that vibe out, that he cares about the individual player. And again, a younger player, younger guy, younger coach, he'll be able to connect.
One other thing was that we had talked about with, it made sense to me to move on from David Quinn, not because of any sort of coaching deficiency, but because you're going to have a guy like Macklin Celebrini, who's presumably going to just step into the league, I don't know. And then, of course, Will Smith, who, again, at this point, probably have the opportunity to jump straight onto the roster. So when you've got these young guys coming in, does it make more sense to stay with David Quinn, have him be there for the rest of his contract, which would have been, a year?
1 more year.
And then go with a new coach? Or do you have these young kids learn the system from the head coach from day one that's going to be with them for the next few years? And I thought that made the most sense. Now, whether or not they went with Marco Sturm, or whether or not they went with Warsofsky or anybody else.
Well, I think that what I really like about Hasso Plattner is that really his heart would be with Marco, right? But he lets Mike Greer do his job.
Yeah.
The other thing is, one thing about Ryan Warsofsky that I was told was the style of play he wants to initiate and put into place is a style of play that we're all going to like, as in attack, attack, attack. Yeah. Marco came from LA Kings with the 1-3-1. LA Kings with a style, and Marco was probably going to employ that it was not going to be as attack oriented, and maybe that was as an issue. The other aspect, though, when you look at it with Hasso, what I really liked is that, again, you let the guy do his job and trust that you picked the right guy to do that job. But then Mike, it had to be hard to fire David Quinn. They were friends, for crying out. Well, they are friends. They played together, for crying out loud. So it was a hard choice to make. But you look at coaching nowadays in the NHL. As of today, if I remember correctly, who's the longest serving coach in the Pacific Division?
Oh, Pacific. Oh, man. I don't even know.
Bruce Cassidy.
Yeah.
2 years. Right? So it's a job where you're disposable, but also you're recyclable because you keep getting jobs over and over.
Yeah.
Now, so you want a recycled guy, or do you want a guy coming in with, I've been in this organization, I know most of these players, I know what you want, I'm a good communicator, I have an idea of how I want to play, and that style of play is what in the future is going to lead us to be back in contention. But as we know, this coach gets fired, a new coach comes in, takes him to a level, that coach probably gets fired, and a new coach comes in for a level. But I think Ryan could be the type of coach that could be here for a number of years.
I'm the timing-wise, I think they did it right, too, because it allowed David Quinn to find another job. He already did. He's an assistant with Pittsburgh, right?
Again, BU guys.
Right.
Sully,
together,
one of the great guys in the world and great former San Jose Shark.
Yeah.
I love Sully to death, and those two guys, and they're best friends. I mean, they're close friends. So I'm happy for David. David's a wonderful human being.
That couldn't be that bad, right?
What's that?
David Quinn not falling upward, but he landed safely.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that bad.
Worst, he could have become a broadcaster.
Right.
We don't want good-looking, well-spoken, articulate, nice guys in the business. You stay in your lane, big boy.
So you're saying we have a chance?
You got a shot for sure.
We got the same barber, and that's about it.
I was going to say.
Exactly. That's the key. That's the key right there.
I wear a hat because my hair's screwed up, but whatever. Anything else for him, or should we let him go?
Oh, well, this season you're going to be doing the same. You're going to be on TV, bouncing between
Back and
TV
forth,
and radio.
Whatever makes me the most money and most notoriety, that's the key. I was thinking today.
Jason, we're not paying him, are we?
Well, I was thinking today, I made a huge mistake today.
Oh, okay.
So this morning I was on NBC on TV, and I had a white shirt, blue tie, a light blue shirt, and I wore the light blue.
You didn't switch it out.
And I switched the shirt and tied it before coming here, but I didn't switch it to the mauve pocket square.
I gotcha.
So that's a big hit against me. So I need to train harder for the last 2 months before the season starts.
We'll also need to have you on again so you can have another chance.
Anytime, honestly, anytime, guys. And I'll send you the bill later.
Yeah, perfect.
I appreciate that.
I just send the bill later. All right. Anything else? Good?
That's good.
Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I sure as heck did.
If you didn't, send the tweets to these guys because I'm not on social media.
It's a good thing you're not on social media.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Here we go. Yeah.
So, the Sharks wanted to be, when it first came out, wanted to be on social media. I think social media is poison. I think poison's fine if you just leave it on the shelf, but as soon as you ingest it, that's when you get sick, and I'm not a big social media guy. In fact, I'm not on social media.
Okay.
So they kept on me. You're going to get on. I said, okay, well, pay me. I said, no. Randy's on, Danny's on, at time Bakes is on. Bakes is a big leader, right?
You don't need me.
You're going to win.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not going on. Well, pay me. No, I'm not going to do that. So we're back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And my boss at the time, we're going to have it out, okay? And finally, I came up with the idea. I literally sat up in bed and went, that's it. That's my winner. So I go in, meet her, and they're great bosses. But said, you're going to go on social media. I said, let me ask you a question. Do you really want me talking to your fans, unfiltered? No editing, nobody guarding over me, nobody telling me what I can say. And then he went,
oh, yeah.
No, we don't.
It's a terrible idea.
And I went, there you go. Are we done? And he went, yeah. I was like, started walking out, and he went, Drew. And I went, yeah. And he goes, savor this. It's the only one you're going to get. And I went, all right, I'll take it.
Fantastic. Well, if you guys would like, you can follow us on our socials. We're on X and Facebook and everything else.
Yeah, you guys are doing a great job on social media. I'm not.
Go to thefitfactor.com. You can pick up one of these shirts or get a sweatshirt or whatever else. Proceeds will go to getting him back on the show for the second time. So again, thank you so much, Drew. It's a pleasure and an honor having you on this show, man. Really do appreciate it. And we will take another quick break so that we can swap him out of here and get him along his merry way. Stay tuned. Okay, we are back. That was awesome. I agree. Having Drew on the show, being able to chat with him and have him just give story after story after story.
I feel like if we gave him the mic and didn't take it away, he would have been here for another 2 hours.
And I would have no problem with that whatsoever.
It's great. I loved it.
Hopefully you enjoyed that. I know you're sitting behind the camera and listening as well, but
Very much so.
just, yeah, really cool stuff. Really, really cool stuff. I love the barber line. Fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Little turtle wax there, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, at this point, we're not really sure what else we can really chat about as far as new topics. So we're going to go to you guys. We're going to ask you if you've got any questions, any comments, anything that you'd like to put on the screen. We can go ahead and just start pulling some of that stuff, chat about it a little bit. If you'd like to pick Graham's brain about certain prospects or whatever, please feel free to do that. And if you want to ensure that we talk about your comment, again, Super Chat, a great way to go ahead and do that. I'm not sure if we're doing Venmo right now, but we'll be happily taking donations through Venmo as well. If we see the comment, obviously, we'll do something about it. But best way for now, Super Chat, obviously, and that way you get your, for sure, we'll get your comment read out live on the air. Aaron, are you ready for some fan comments and questions? Let's do it. Okay, so Super Producer Jason, basically at this point, if anyone's got... What?
Throw them at us.
Yeah, throw them at us. If anybody's got any some comments or some questions, things we can kind of chat a little bit about. Randy and Drew on the podcast counter. Yes, Devereaux. Devereaux, miss you here, buddy. Yeah,
he's here.
Oh, he's here?
Yeah, he's here.
Oh, well, maybe
I don't know if he's still here, but he was here earlier. Yeah, we can get him up here.
Why not? Who knows? Yeah, it was definitely nice to have Drew come on the show. We kind of completed the what do you call it? The broadcasting.
There's
group.
one missing former defenseman who actually we had lined up to be on our show. I want to say during COVID when we were remote.
Former defenseman on the
Brett
broadcast.
Hedeken.
Hedeken, that's right.
I think that's the only missing broadcaster that has not been on the show.
I would love to have Hedeken on the show. We do have a question here. Peter St. John says, how does Graham feel about Aaron as an e-bug prospect?
Terrible. I'm a terrible goalie.
Okay,
Never seen him
serious
play,
questions, please, people. Yeah, I don't know. I think I would like to see you taking shots from Scott Hannon over at
I'll take
Kathy's
some
first.
shots. As long as I'm well protected and I'm not going to get hurt. And I might play on my shoes rather than skates because I feel like I would hurt myself more on skates.
If a puck hits you in the shoe, you're going to
Well,
have
I'd wear like steel toe boots or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
okay.
Something that would protect my feet as well. But I'll look like that kid in whatever movie with all of the pads and all of the armor, like pads on pads on pads, and just like be able to barely move just to take a puck, just see if I could take it.
I don't know.
I also don't think I would be that terrible.
Yeah, you would.
I'm not saying I would be great, but I think I wouldn't flinch.
So, Graham, can you maybe educate Aaron a little bit with regard to I wouldn't be that bad if he had to step into a professional NHL goaltending backup role?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm talking about taking shots from Scott Hannon in the studio.
Oh, okay.
Not playing the e-bug.
So, go ahead. Say what you got to say first. Go ahead.
I actually play goalie, not ice hockey, but like road hockey, and I've got like all the pads and stuff.
Okay.
So like, I don't know. I feel like maybe I would be a better e-bug, although I'm a little short for that though. So probably wouldn't be in the pool if I lived in the area. But yeah, I don't know. Goalie's fun though, but yeah, it takes a special kind of person to be a goalie because you gotta deal with a lot of stingers.
You have to have some screws loose up head.
You gotta be
Especially if you're taking
crazy.
shots from Scott Hannon, you're gonna feel that.
Yeah.
I think there was an episode of like Sports Science where they had George Peros, not known for his shooting ability, his accuracy, only known for his hands, and I'm not talking about stick handling. And even they put a sumo wrestler with pads in front of the net, and he sniped everything. George Peros sniped everything. So even an enforcer, an old enforcer who's
maybe
retired
only shots
now,
from the point. I'm not going to let him get up close.
I'd take a shot from 200 feet away.
Yeah, 200 feet. There you go. Maybe I'll stop it. Yeah.
Oh, we have another guest?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess what we'll do at this point is we'll take another timeout. Keep those questions, and after we have our next guest on, we'll probably go back to a segment like this so we can interact with you guys a little bit more. But we will take a very, very brief 30 to 1 minute long, 30 seconds to 1 minute long. You know what I meant. Stop it. And we'll be right back. And we are back with good friend of the show, Doug Bentz. Doug, I always screw up your title. I think last time I remember it was VP of Marketing or Director of Marketing, but it's not that anymore.
CMO.
CMO, Chief Marketing Officer.
Yes.
This is about as high as you can get when it comes to marketing, and he's sitting right here next to me. That's fantastic. We've had a lot of high-profile guys. Doug, no exception. Glad to have you back on the show, and thank you for correcting me on your title there. So. Anyway, so we've got a lot of things that are happening behind us. One of the things, and we just talked about a little bit, the streamers that went off, the confetti that was going, the foghorn and everything else. And that was something that Aaron had brought up saying, we hadn't seen that last year when we got Will Smith. And you had a very good reason. And I would love for you to share that reason. Because again, with this show, we're always looking at the prospects in the future, and that's kind of what's keeping us going. So you had a good reason for that.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me talk about my title and inflating my ego, putting me in the same realm of the better guests you've had earlier. This is such a potentially defining moment for the organization. I mean, I've been here 19 years, and outside maybe an overtime goal in the playoffs, like this is one moment that actually has given me goosebumps and kind of like make me realize like how powerful the fandom of the Sharks fans are, like, and even like how a pit can really change a city. I mean, if you saw this week, the city worked with us to light several buildings teal. We've had people come and be very excited to be, hey, Sharks are back, like how can we get involved? So I think that the fact that, the number one pick represents a lot of people, we wanted to go all out, not only at this party, but even in that moment, because we can look back and potentially say, like, this was a moment that sparked a whole new kind of chapter of the Sharks hockey. So it was important to us to really make this a special event, and the fact we had 17,000 people claim tickets. Now, not all 17,000 people came, but we had an awesome crowd here. Looked great on ESPN. So I think it was mission accomplished. I think the fans really appreciated it.
So this is a big event that you planned out here, bigger than last year. In fact, I think what I heard was, excuse me, Chicago last year had the biggest draft party at 5,000 people. Pretty sure we beat that. I don't know if we have the number at all of who showed up.
Yeah, so I think the attendance numbers for draft parties maybe aren't as official as games, but yeah, we certainly now hold the record for the biggest draft party. The venue that they held it at actually only held 5,000 people, so I think we can be sure that this spectacle was more impressive than that anyways.
Yeah, this is way better.
That's their fault. So whatever.
Yeah. Venue choice.
Take whatever records we can get right now.
Right. That was a great day. I had a lot of fun, and it's really cool. And it's great that we're also welcome back here again to do this show with you guys. I had a good time. Is this going to be an every year thing, or is this only because we had such high draft picks?
Are you saying every year that we're coming back, or
well, no? I mean, like, are we going to do a draft party from now on? Is it going to be like a thing that we do every single year?
Yeah, I think we maybe talked about this last year. Like, a real focus of us is again bringing people together. It's like the Teal Together mantra. That maybe it's not this big, but I think it's important that we don't forget that having people come together and share their fandom, be part of the community, is important to the Sharks experience. Yep. Now, maybe we're doing this in the playoffs soon, and so it may not be as important to do this. But I think what we saw actually today was a lot of people who'd never been to the arena came. We saw a lot of people who were just getting interested in the Sharks. And to show them the kind of experience that they would get at a regular game at the draft party is a way for us to grow the game and grow the fan base. So it really hits multiple things that we're trying to accomplish. So for the foreseeable future, yes, we will continue to do this, and I think it's an important part of that aim to get people together.
Right.
And you talked about Teal Together, and I know that was a theme. Was it last season's theme as well? Because I think it's been a couple years.
Yeah, so this last year was the 4th year of Teal Together.
There you go. So this year, I think we've got a different theme. Is that correct?
So I think our overall kind of brand campaign will continue to be Teal Together, because that just touches so many parts of the organization and how we do business, how we treat the community, how we treat customers. I think you've probably seen the future is teal. It's something that we're leaning into because, as you saw today, there's a lot of evidence that is the case. Now, Now, I don't know if that's going to be like a 4-year campaign, because if we get a lot of these kids on the ice this year, like the future becomes now, and it becomes probably something else. But I think the future of Teal just allows the platform to tell the stories of all these new players that are coming into the mix. And really not necessarily even them individually, but like we have a lot of people coming in at one time together as a group. Interestingly, we may have like that core that took a little bit to build previously, all coming in within a year of each other, and like how they come in as a group, I think will be as interesting of a story as who they are as individuals. So the future at Teal kind of allows us to wrap all that together. Not to mention the fact that I think just even off the ice, like as a business, like again, the momentum we have as a business is also an indication of the future as Teal, and the number of people we had here, the city activations. I think that brings together that we are moving in a great place as a Sharks organization.
Yeah, it's really cool with the new logo with the 1 for the first overall pick, and then you had pucks around different cities and areas in the Bay Area, and actually one of my boss got one of them yesterday and showed it to me. I thought it was pretty cool because it had a barcode on the back for a prize, which he didn't realize there was a prize involved, and I told him, and he scanned it and got it right there. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
but they have not been to many games, so it's bringing them in.
Again, so we did the Teal one, and then we did Chomp and Seek, and I think this again goes to the strategy of us wanting to go out in the community and let fans be introduced to who we are, not necessarily come into a game, but like we're out in the community. Last year we did the Around the Bay tour, where kind of we took players out instead of just having one fan fest here. We're going to do that again this year, so that's a little bit of a tease here. And then we're going to do something even bigger scale in preseason that's going to offer people to get a sense of who the Sharks are and the experience at a lower cost. So again, a little bit of a tease there that we can maybe talk about more in about a month or so here, but more of this, more people being introduced to the Sharks, more people getting in Teal. That's what it's all about.
And so obviously reaching out to the community and the response that we've had, again, you talked about bringing people into the arena who maybe hadn't been here before, teasing but not being able to go into maybe a lower cost plan. So how have you seen so far, and what's the expectation with regard to ticket sales, getting this building back to where it was when it was rocking and full again?
Yeah, so we've already seen an increase in ticket sales just from the time that we won the draft lottery on May 7th.
Yeah.
Our full expectation is we're going to see another increase coming out of this game. We are going on sale with individual game ticket sales next Tuesday, July 2nd. And so I fully expect we see, again, a lot of people who came here or are now learning about the Sharks through Macklin will want to come out to a game. So I think, results will speak for themselves, but I think, the individual ticket sales on Tuesday will be another indicator of the momentum we have. On that same day, we're releasing the whole full schedule, so Tuesday will be another big day for the Sharks coming out of this. And then obviously Dev Camp next week. And then we have the Prospect Scrimmage on July 4th, which is another chance to see a lot of these guys in Teal for the first time, which should be another great event. So
we made that event last year.
A lot of ways, a lot of touch points here for fans to kind of get to know who we are that aren't just Sharks games, which is, again, what we're trying to do in marketing.
Yeah, those the prospects games and the scrimmages, and even the kind of training camp stuff that they had open to the public. I was eating all that stuff up for quite a while. I love being able to go to those, and I love when it's open to the public. Not only can you get to see these young prospects, these players, and even some of the other guys who have been part of training camp, the guys like Nico Sturm, the other ones that I look at, and man, I really respect the heck out of these guys. Being able to see them, but also being able to do that alongside your fellow fan, because it is open to the public. You see a lot of people that, sometimes you see them at the arena, or you've seen them at the previous day, and they're out there with you again. So you kind of start building those relationships just amongst the fans, let alone what the organization is doing in terms of reaching out to those fans as well. So I just give me a fork and a knife. I ate that stuff. It was really, really awesome. Really enjoyed the heck out of that, and you said you did as well.
I loved it too.
You're a great advocate for the Teal Together mantra. But it is true. I mean, again, I've been here 19 years, but you go out to the floor with all these people for a number one pick, and it's like you kind of lose yourself in the moment because you're like with all these people that have this shared passion, And just like, especially when things are going well, that's a very bonding experience, and it's cool. I mean, that's why I work in this job. Is like the impact you have on people, and I think you summed it up well. It's like, hey, you're part of a community that has this shared passion that is free of politics, is free of the stuff that you're dealing with at work, and it's just a way to release and feel like you have people supporting you. So that's really why Teal Together, I think, is going to stay for a while, because we're trying to continue to build that community. That's we're getting better on the ice, but it still needs to be about that community off the ice, and that's kind of what Teal Together is all about.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I like Teal Together. That's awesome. Aaron, one of the things that you enjoyed about coming to the games, go ahead.
Were the giveaways. Last year was the most giveaways, if I'm correct. I think there was 12 games.
Yep.
Are we looking at the same amount, less amount, more amount? What are we looking at this year?
I think we'd be doing everyone a disservice to do less. So I think you'll see more this year.
Wow.
I think hopefully, or maybe we see more weekend games, so it gives us more platforms to do more. And I think you'll again see kind of this combination of, we'll do some things for the people who have been with us for 30 years, who will appreciate either the inside jokes or really the hockey aspects. We'll do some stuff for someone who's never been to a hockey game. We'll do some things that are just kind of fun and weird. And then we'll do some things that really center around our celebration games, where we're reaching out to new communities. So I think, again, I think you'll be happy with not only the number of giveaways, but I think the variety in what we're doing. So, again, next Tuesday is when the schedule comes out. So we're not going to give you all the giveaways that day. We're going to give you the first wave.
Okay.
And maybe not even the half, because I think it's the first wave. But over the course of July, there'll be a reason for you to kind of keep in touch with us, because we'll keep kind of feeding you some of this information.
I thought last year was a fantastic job of a mix of different stuff that you haven't really done before for giveaways. I thought they were great, and I also thought you guys did a fantastic job of filling the arena for a team that came in dead last. I was kind of amazed. Obviously, the giveaways were a big part of that, because people wanted free stuff, but the quality of it was good enough that they were going to come in, and they knew the team probably wasn't going to get a win. So hats off to the marketing department for making that happen, because I was here for a couple of those nights, and it seemed like the arena of old, where it was practically sold out, and it was very loud. Even the Sharks, I think, won at least a couple of those games that I've been to, but it was very loud, and it was like, wow, this is great. This still is a great place, and there's still a lot of people that like to come to these games, so it was fun.
Yeah, and knowing that, we continue to invest in the experience in the arena, continue to invest in merchandise. We're trying to do a lot of different things in merchandise to, again, bring a different level of maybe coolness to hockey that we necessarily haven't had in the past. With the giveaways, with all of our activations in the community or around, different parts of the Bay Area. So I appreciate you saying that, because it's really a concerted effort, because we've not had the best performance on the ice.
Right.
But it's not always just about that. It's about the experience, it's about the community, it's about the fun, and we can't ever lose sight of that, even when we do get back to being better here in the next couple of years.
Excited for playoffs at some point again.
Well, I mean, if you remember when we had playoffs, I think it was playoff mode on was the last time that we had some merch from you guys for playoffs,
neon,
right? The neon and everything, which, by the way,
flipping the big switch.
Yes. By the way, though, the socks, because you gave us some merchandise to hand out to you guys, which we did. The socks were a huge hit.
Yeah.
I can't remember who won it, but he was like, yes, the socks. Yeah. So definitely looking forward to getting back to being able to do that, and hopefully the Sharks are getting in playoffs sooner than later, but who knows.
Right.
So you talked about a couple teases, some things that you can say a little bit about, and some things that you're not. Was there anything that you wanted to tease other than the things that you already did? You talked about some of the giveaways and whatnot that you can't exactly go into, or the ticketing plan that you can't go into yet. But what else can you maybe tease for the people that are watching?
Yeah, well, I guess one thing I'm looking forward to next year, which isn't necessarily a tease, except the date, which again we'll learn next Tuesday. Okay. If that date's not already on everyone's calendar after this, then we got something wrong. Is the number 19 going into the rafters? Which we did it well for Patty, but Jumbo, I think we're going to try to have the whole activities kind of be representative of Jumbo's personality. So you'll see a lot of the same elements, but maybe in a different kind of format and style. But there's nothing like putting a jersey into the rafters, and so there's just so many ways to honor the past and have that be kind of a stepping stone to the future, especially with Joe being around here a lot. So that's going to be a great time.
It'll be a strange ceremony, though, to have everybody go up and talk about Joe with their shirts off. It'll be, you know.
So there's gonna be a lot of shirtless, bearded men walking around for that event.
If you gotta get.
Make sure some interesting ideations.
Yes, yes. A bearded hamburger, everything bearded food. Sounds terrible.
Oh my God! Yeah, a roasted skunk. I guess the beard's the skunk strain, right? Yeah. Anyway, okay. Anything else that you would like to pick his brain about?
Is there anything else that you'd want to?
Something you want to tell them, like.
I mean, I think we've hit on most. I think this has obviously been a very busy time since the lottery. We have development camp next week. We encourage people to come out, see these kids on the ice. Then we have prospect scrimmage. We have some tickets left for that. So come out to prospect scrimmage, see these guys in teal, and then come mid-August we're going to be right back at it and trying to ramp up to the season. So. And then we're going to have more giveaways than last year. We're going to have another jersey retirement. And then we're going to have some new superstars here, hopefully showing their stuff. So a lot to look forward to.
Can't wait. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that interview with CMO.
There you go.
Doug Bentz. Doug, thanks again. Yeah. Always a pleasure having you on. Really do appreciate everything you've let them know about.
No, and we appreciate your support of the Sharks, and we love what you do. So I thank you for doing what you do.
Anytime. Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take another little break, and we'll be right back after this. And we are back. This will probably be the last time that we cut away because things are dying down back here. We're at, pick number 22, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
The Sharks don't look like they're about to make any trade to kind of get another pick into the first round.
This line right here is still the line for the mechanical shark. So there's still a line to ride the mechanical shark.
There certainly are people still hanging out over here.
Can't wait to see Paul on that thing after we're done here.
They're going to be very disappointed. As will you if you were expecting to see that as well. However, this, again, last opportunity really. If you have any questions or comments you'd like us to read out or respond to, again, if you have a question for our prospects expert, Graham over here, he can certainly give you any information that you'd like on the majority of these prospects, I'm sure. But at this point, yeah, we'll just go ahead and see if there's any comments. Super Jason can put those on the screen. And while he's doing, there you go, right there. When you pass on the player with elite processing and championship pedigree, who is always 2-3 plays ahead of everyone else for someone who is 3 inches taller, the grade is an F, you failed. Wow, Brian does not, I'm assuming this is the Dickinson over Bouillon. I think that's what he's getting to here. And he says, it reminds me of Greer's playing career. He did everything right to position himself and then whiffed on the shot. Yes, I'm talking about passing on Bouillon and Dickinson. I am so done. There you go. So I'm actually going to pat myself on the back for getting that he was talking about those two players correctly. There you go. So what is your response to that with regard to the difference between those two players, and if you see that as a swing and a miss getting Dickinson instead of Bouillon?
I don't think it's a swing and a miss. I am a little bit disappointed. I personally, my preference would have been for Bouillon, but between the two players, Dickinson does have a higher ceiling. So if both players reach their full potential, then Dickinson's probably going to be the better player. And they're both pretty solid two ways. So I think with the added size too, I mean it fits the vision that Greer has for this team, I think. And while I would personally prefer Bouillon, I don't think it's a huge miss. I think Sharks fans are going to be pretty happy with Dickinson in a few years.
There you go.
How far did Bouillon? How far did he go down?
He went the very next pick.
Yeah, he was the next one.
I didn't get to see
so
that.
So that side of it does sting a little bit. So it's like, okay, that's my preferred player, and he goes to the very next pick. But like I said, they're both going to be good players, I think.
See, and it's hard for me to call that a swing and a miss, because if you look at it, he had the 14th pick and he moved up to be able to get one of those players. Had he not done that, pretty safe to say Bouillon would have gone, Dickinson would have gone, and he'd have been left with whoever's left at 14. So I think in terms of grading Greer's performance over just who did he pick, right? I would think that we could look at this and say, you know what, it was a smart move to be able to move up, right? To be able to pick one of those guys that were available there, as opposed to getting left with whoever would have been taken at 14.
This is just going to be one of those picks that we have to wait and see for a couple years down the road to see where those two guys specifically are going to end up in their careers, because they were picked 1 and 2 right behind each other.
One right after the other.
One right after the other.
Consecutively.
11 and 12.
Yes, 11 and 12. One right after the other consecutive picks, yes. So I saw him saying very democratic answer, but how big do you guys expect this upcoming free agency period to be?
This year, not as good as next year.
Baby.
A year from now is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
This year, not so much. I don't think the Sharks are going to make a big splash. I could be wrong. I just don't think of the guys that are there. I think they're kind of looking for longer term-ish. Yeah. Greer won't sign anyone more than 3-4 years. He might maybe go out and get somebody. I don't know. And it could also come down to a numbers game based on other teams and the salary cap ceiling, how close they are to it, and how many other guys they have to re-sign and all this other stuff. So there's a lot at play here. But I don't think this season the Sharks go after anyone big. I could see next season
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think that the Sharks have some veteran leadership. We just had Drew on here talking about some of the veterans that are on this team still, even from last season. I know he said Vlasic, but
no, Nico Sturm.
Well, Nico Sturm, exactly.
I'm laughing because you just wanted to bring his name up.
I do. Nico Sturm, and then Mikhail Granlund. Obviously, he said, He had a down season, came to the Sharks, and ended up being like the leader of the team, right? So
if he could put another season like that together, he could be a good trade prospect at the deadline, assuming the Sharks are so far out.
What is his cap hit?
What is his cap hit?
I believe it's $6 million, is it not?
Yeah, but it gets prorated, right?
Well, yeah, but they have already used their 3 retention slots, so moving him is going to be pretty hard, I think.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
He's going to get moved?
If he has another season, I mean, there's definitely going to be teams that are interested in him, but it is going to be difficult to move him, I think.
I think if you end up moving a guy like Granlund, and basically what the other team's going to have to do is give you somebody back to just take some of the cap away. So they might not be able to just add him to the roster, but when you do a swap, maybe for somebody who's a little bit overpaid, and the Sharks can't absorb that,
right?
Because they position themselves that way by not giving Timo Meier $10 million a year, and by not retaining Erik Karlsson or Brent Burns or whatever. I
mean, the Sharks are still below the floor right now. Like, they still have to spend money to get up over that floor. So they will have to spend money. I think they're not gonna get any not blue chip, but like big name players coming in this free agency. I don't think.
Yeah, and where I was gonna say, correct me if I'm wrong, was I think that they would go out and get somebody who maybe adds to the culture, somebody who is a veteran that can help them learn the right way to play the game, as Drew put it. But I feel like the Sharks maybe have some of those guys already. Even Luke Cunnin is a name that gets thrown around.
I'd love to see him bring back Dilly.
I would too. Brendan Dillon, for me, fantastic.
We could probably get him on the show. Remember, we actually
almost
had him on the show, and then he got traded, and he got sent to Washington, I think. I think he went to the Capitals, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
To Washington?
So,
yeah, it was.
Anyway, I don't want to get into how.
Yeah. But my point is, I don't think they're going to go out this season and go to free agency and pull in, some of these high-profile veterans. Right. I think Greer's already done a good job of going out and getting these fourth-line, hard-working types, good locker-room guys. We talked about Ty Dellandrea. He fits that mold to a T. Obviously, Goodrow wasn't very happy about coming here from New York the way that it happened. Right, but he's bringing in, I think, the way that it happened.
Yeah, he's not pissed that he's coming to San Jose.
Right, it's just how it went down.
Right.
And I think if you take that away, again, it's a guy who's a hard worker. He's going to tell him the right way to go about, treating your body and, all those things that come along with being a professional. So I don't think they're going to go out necessarily and grab one of those high-profile guys for that reason. And I think anybody else he could just get from a trade, because he's done such a marvelous job with trades and bringing some of these guys in. I don't think he needs any more of them, to be honest, though.
Right.
So, and again, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you think that they need a veteran from the free agent market that's going to help this team in any way, shape, or form, or do you think they have the guys already?
Defenseman, not a forward.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think it matters too much.
Okay.
For the next couple of years, you're basically looking at you need somebody to play for this team.
Yeah.
You just really need to fill out the roster. Honestly, I'm a little bit more concerned about the Barracuda, the AHL team, because they were expected to take a decent step forward this year, especially with some of the draft picks from the last couple of years coming up, and that really hasn't happened.
Yeah.
So that's where I would be putting my focus on. I feel like Greer is really focused on the culture and competitiveness of the NHL team, but the AHL team, if you don't have that same philosophy for that team, those guys are going to come up and it's going to be kind of a culture shock coming from the same organization. Yeah. So I really think they should maybe spend some more resources on the Barracuda.
What would you do there? Bring in some more veteran AHL players to help out?
Well, to be honest, I would actually probably start with the coaching staff.
Yeah.
I mean, I love John McCarthy, but he didn't have any coaching experience before this job. And I look at how the team, he's been coached for 2 or 3 years?
At least 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and they've been the worst team in the league every year for those 3 years. I mean, I know, especially when he started, that roster was bad.
Yeah.
But last year, they had some pretty significant prospects on that team. I mean, Shakir Mukhamadullin for one. I really expected that team to be better. I mean, Daniel Gushin as well. He's proven that he can score goals at the NHL level. He's a great goal scorer at the American League level. He was right up there near the top of the league last year, in fact, in points. But there's still
Werslavsky taking over. Werslavsky taking over as the coach. Kind of the approach and the way that the team is going to be at the NHL level, that they could get another coach that's going to match the style so that it's an easier transition coming up.
I think Werslavsky I think that move is intended. Okay, here's what I really think happened. They brought him in as an assistant coach, right, when he hired Quinn.
Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, Werslavsky did interview for the head coaching job at that same time, and he ended up getting an assistant role. So I think the plan all along was to have him take over when our elite prospects are starting to graduate. So Will Smith, Celebrini, Quinton Musty, those kinds of guys. And so I think because of his age and his experience at the American Hockey League level, he is going to be a better coach than Quinn would be for the younger players at the NHL level. Now, what that means for the guys at the AHL level, I can't really tell you.
I wonder if the Barracuda were so bad, given that some of those guys had to come and play at the NHL, well, maybe they weren't ready. Maybe not last season necessarily, but like at least in a couple seasons prior, maybe before Greer got here.
Well, let's see. How long has Greer been general manager?
This is his third.
This will be his
draft.
third. Yeah.
So this is his third draft.
Although technically his first draft was really,
he got hired the week of the draft.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
Yeah. Sums it up quite well. Let's see. I'm worried about Greer's job if he can't improve the quality of this team. Peter St. John, come on now. If we finish in the bottom three again, the hue and cry from the Barbarian fans will be loud and persistent. And more to come. Last year, we were already hearing those cries for Greer's head, and that would be a mistake if that happened to think. Okay, the cries for Greer's head, I think, came from people who I wouldn't worry about whether or not they're crying. I think that when you take a look at Greer's body of work, from the moment he got here, he was shipping out big contracts, getting in futures, whether that's prospects or picks, and he was starting his rebuild right away. I can't think of a way that he would have rebuilt this team any faster when it comes to stocking the prospects in the Sholl. Right?
I was going to say he did it slower. He didn't do a fire sale and just dump everyone. He took a couple years to get some of those bigger contracts out, like Burns,
we're talking
Carlson,
about
Hurdle, Meyer. All those big contracts took time. It wasn't the Chicago way of like, I'm going to trade them for nothing and just start fresh right away.
But we're talking about, who was it that was saying? I think it was Drew was talking about where we were ranked in terms of prospects. And we went from one of the worst to, in 2 years' time, we've got one of the best prospect pools now. And I think that it's only 2 years, right? This will be his third year. It's only been 2 years. So for him to put in the amount of work that he's done with moving people, which again is only 2 seasons worth of trading, I mean, that's pretty good. When you take a look at teams that have gone through much harder times, right? Ottawa and Buffalo come to mind from when they were doing their rebuilds. And
Buffalo's still doing a rebuild.
Exactly. Like, I don't know. It's for me, now maybe this whole thing flops. Maybe the Sharks are a horrible team for the next 4 years, and we're trading off all these really good players that we're drafting and trading for and everything else, and maybe it completely flops. We'll come back on this moment and say, Paul, you were wrong. Okay, but I think when you take a look at the futures that this team has now, it's very easy to be optimistic about what Greer has done, and to say that because we're not winning right now, it's his fault, and he's not putting together a team, kind of just tells me more about the person saying that than the GM. And I feel like a lot of these guys, we've said this a bunch of times on the show, I feel like a lot of the people that have that opinion maybe are watching other sports where a single player can change the whole game. You add LeBron James to your team, yeah, your team's going to be pretty good because you can play in isolation. You can't do that in hockey.
They're usually Raiders fans.
Or Raiders fans, apparently. I don't know.
Just kidding, Raiders fans.
No, he's not. He's not kidding. But I think that to me is, I just think that Greer has done an amazing job with what he started with to where he is, and for this team to be back into its winning ways and have a winning culture, he's building that. He hasn't built it, he's building. So it's going to take another, in my opinion, you may disagree, and you probably disagree, I say 2 years, and we're going to be sniffing that playoff bubble again. That's my take. Y'all can hate me if you want. You can hate me too, but that's what I think. I think we're right there, and it's going to be because of the work that Mike Grier has done. I'm not even entertaining the idea of firing him. And if you two disagree, fire away now.
I think playoffs next season when Draisaitl signs with the Sharks.
I think I don't necessarily agree with the timeline. I think 2 years is a bit optimistic, unless Draisaitl does sign, which is
it's a big jump start.
I mean, it's not entirely out of the question.
Right. Yeah.
But I do think Grier's done a really good job so far. I mean, just look at the future assets that he's brought in.
Mm-hmm.
He's added at least 3 first-round picks, some second-round picks. The Jake Walman deal, he got that pick basically for free, and Walman is not a terrible player either. That's another player that you can probably trade in the future for assets. In fact, there was reports that other teams, if they knew that Detroit was shopping Walman, they would have given up assets to get him, and we got a second-round pick with him. So, I mean, that's a fleece as far as I'm concerned.
It's crazy.
So, I mean,
I thought I read it wrong. I thought we traded a second at first to get him. And
why isn't it loaded?
Yeah, I did a double take. I did a double take too. When I first saw that trade, I was like, wait, really? We're getting a second-round pick with this guy? Okay. Because he's actually, I'm not a Red Wings fan or anything, but he was one of my favorite players on the Red Wings this past year. And also, keep in mind, the next couple drafts, I can't speak to how deep they are necessarily, but there's some really high-level talent coming in the next couple of drafts at the top as well. Like next year, I believe Gavin McKenna, projected to go first overall, Connor Bedard's cousin, actually.
Oh, wow.
Crazy.
And he is going to be like another player like in that realm, a really good first overall player potentially. And I don't expect the Sharks to be the worst team in the league again next year, so they're probably not going to have the best odds to win the lottery, but they will have pretty good chances of winning the lottery. So,
man, if they could win the lottery again,
I mean,
2 years
if we're here again next year and the Sharks win the lottery, and now we have Will Smith, Macklin Celebrini, Gavin McKenna, like nobody is going to be complaining about the job Mike Grier's done.
Yeah.
Draisaitl or Noah would definitely jumpstart it. Get out of here, Peter St. John. Noah, are you kidding me?
You should have brought your jersey.
I should have brought the jersey. Thank God we didn't draft Yzerman. No clue why y'all were trying to push that. No, hey, I'm not trying to push anything. I'm just saying that he was touted as probably the most pure goal scorer of the draft. Maybe he doesn't do anything else that great, but in terms of goal scoring, he was touted as probably the best one.
Don't the Sharks already have Haltonen as a one-trick pony of shooting and scoring goals?
I don't want to call him a one-trick pony, but okay, sure.
The Sharks don't really have many goal scorers in their prospect pool. Like you said, Haltonen.
Yeah.
I'm still not super high on Haltonen. I mean, probably I would think maybe a 20, 25 goal scorer, but for somebody who's a pure goal scorer, that's not a ton. Maybe he gets to 30. Maybe if he can earn like a top number 1 power play spot, then he could be a 30 goal scorer. But also the rest of his game is not really that impressive. That's still the case. He's still more or less just a finisher. But there's a whole level between Haltonen and Yzerman in terms of finishing.
Okay, I think that we're pretty much wrapped up here. They're on pick number 24 out of 32. Sharks will be picking 33 tomorrow because we were the worst team, so we get the first pick.
We will not be on tomorrow, and there's no draft party tomorrow in case you missed out today and wanted to come again tomorrow. Tomorrow's 2nd through 7th rounds, and they start at 8:30 in the morning, I believe. It's pretty early. So, like Paul said, it'll be rapid fire. It'll go quick. But the Sharks will be on the clock first at 8:30 in the morning, so get your cereal ready on the couch.
How we've been here for like 2.5 hours and they're only on pick 24 is beyond me. Like, figure it out, guys. Jeez. But anyway, Super Producer Jason's waving. Okay, I think that's going to wrap us up here because, again, I don't think that the Sharks are going to be moving again into the first round. So, was there something else you want to say here?
No.
Okay, good. So, again, thank you guys all for tuning in. Do appreciate you guys. Hopefully, you enjoyed the heck out of all of the guests that we've had. Obviously, having Graham here to be able to talk about all the prospects and whatnot, couldn't do that without him. And then having all the guys that came in, Doug Bentz, CMO. Doug Bentz.
Correct.
We had Drew Remenda and Scott
El Presidente, Jonathan Becker.
El Presidente, that's right. So if you're just tuning in now, rewind, because there's a whole lot of great content back there as well. So again, appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much for the super chat as well. It does go a long way, especially, I don't know if you guys have noticed that sometimes this center view has been dipping. Literally, the camera is held together with tape. I'm not joking. We didn't have the plate. So producer Jason doing his best MacGyver impression over here, and he taped the camera on. That's why it keeps dipping.
It keeps slipping.
Well done, Super Producer Jason. Guys, if we could, Super Producer Jason, good job. Way to go.
Well done,
way to go,
well
buddy.
done,
Thank you so much. Guys, if you could put it in the chat for him, some hand claps or some fire or whatever. The man was stressing like crazy. You did a phenomenal job. We appreciate everything that you do for us, bud. Thank you so much. And guys, again, we appreciate you tuning in, and hopefully, again, you enjoyed the heck out of this stream. A marvelous day, a historic day. Again, the first time the Sharks ever picked first overall. And I hope that you guys are there for all of the prospect camps and the scrimmages and everything else. I'm sure we'll be there, so we'll see you guys in the stands if you're there watching them as well. Anything that was open to the public at least. So we hope to see you guys there. So for Super Producer Jason and for Graham, I'm Paul.
I'm Aaron.
And we will see you guys
maybe next week if they sign someone big. Otherwise, no.
Free agency. I'm sure we'll do something in free agency.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.